Welcome, everyone. I'm Peggy McColl, and I'm simply going to introduce myself rather than any kind of formal introduction. Many of you are familiar with who I am. I see some familiar faces in our Zoom room here. If this is the first time that you have attended one of our events, please type in the chat box. We'd like to know if we have any newcomers here that have never been. First time, says Bob and Heather. All right, welcome. We're happy to have you here. And first, okay, there's another one. Now, I've set the chat box that only the host and co-host can see it. Now, I did that on purpose. And the reason why I've done that is one of the things that we've noticed in the past is when we've done our events, and if the chat box is wide open, it can be a distraction. And I really would love for you guys to really focus, because we're going to be talking about you. We're going to be talking about your dreams, and more importantly, giving you guidance so that you can live your dreams, because I assume that's what you're here for. And I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to serve you. Cambridge, Ohio. All right, great. And so I have a question for you before we begin. You were attracted to come to this event for a reason. And I'm just going to share with you some slides. I do have a few slides, and I will be doing a back and forth, going to the slides at some point and then coming back to you. And here's a slide that is directly from the page that you registered for this event. And so on that page, it said, who is this event for? We called it Mastery, mastering your key emotions. So who's this event for? For people that are ready to upgrade their business or their life, people who are willing to learn and to study, anyone that has a burning desire to accomplish a lot in a little time, anyone who wants to generate wealth and prosperity, anyone who values the good life and is ready to help others change, or anyone. Or are you committed to creating results no matter where you're starting from or how much you know or don't know today? So these could be some of the reasons why you've chosen to be here, but I'd like you to type in the chat box why you made a decision to be here today. What is it about this event that caused you to be here? Now, when you type in your response in the chat box, I want you to understand no one else is going to see it except me, Vladdy, and Roddy. That's my team, me, Vladdy, and Roddy. So whatever your answer is, if it's a private answer or something confidential, just be willing to share. We would, oh, Kayla's here too. I'm just going to make Kayla a co-host as well. And we would love to hear it. Now I'm going to read off some of the answers, but I won't say the name and to respect your privacy. So my desire for financial freedom is what someone wrote in the chat box. Now, I suspect there are a number of you that may have that desire for financial freedom. And if so, you're definitely in the right place. All right, great stuff. Emotional mastery, perfect. All right, here's another one. Any chance I get to be in the room with you and your team? Love the energy and the messages. I love your attitude. Thank you so much for that. Heard me with David Conway and found on my Facebook page. Perfect. I love how people are led in whatever reason it may be. Upgrade my life and my business. Help with when I feel the wobble. Oh, I love that. That's great. And Sherry, I always learn from Peggy. Oh, I'm not supposed to say the name. It was a positive one anyways, right, Sherry? Sherry is a very serious student for sure. I love that. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, because you're amazing, Peggy. Best teacher. I really appreciate that. Savvy wisdom. Who doesn't want that? Absolutely. Savvy wisdom is the name of my 19th book, and it is a fiction book. It's written as a parable. And if any of you do not have this book, definitely get it. I did a sequel, Savvy Wisdom 2. Savvy is the name of an individual. It's an individual that a fictitious character named Sophie meets in a park one day. And the reason why that was mentioned is because Savvy is based on Bob Proctor, and Sophie's character is based on me and my life. And so, yes, it is. It's definitely some savvy wisdom, because savvy wisdom is not only wisdom that I learned from Bob Proctor, but it's wisdom that I've learned from many masters in the almost 44 years of study. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Somebody said, I read all your books. Amazing. Okay. Love it. Beautiful. Okay. Great. Great. Well, I was suspicious that you were in the right place. And of course you are. And I am here to serve you at the highest level that I possibly can. I absolutely love serving. And I love serving you. I love that you showed up, because if you didn't show up, I wouldn't be serving you. And the reason why I love it so much is because life is meant to be fully enjoyed and fully embraced. But we have to decide that. We have to make some decisions. We have to name what it is that we would love, and we have to claim it as our own. But what happens is a lot of people don't understand that. They believe that the way that their life is being lived right now is what is known as their lot in life, that this is the way it was destined. This is the way our Creator meant for it to be. And it's not. We're meant to live an abundant, fulfilled life, whatever that is. And I'm not just talking about monetary or riches or money. And there is nothing wrong with that, by the way. We're definitely going to be talking about that today. But it's really about you understanding and realizing that there's so much more. There's so much more for you. There's so much more enjoyment. There's so much more fulfillment. There's so much more laughter. There's so much more sense of peace that you can be enjoying in your life. And so this is really what we're going to talk about today. This session has been designed to primarily focus on emotional mastery. Now, why are we focusing on emotional mastery? Because it's your emotions that are attracting back to you everything that you are experiencing in your life. And a lot of people don't even realize that. So today I'm going to share some things with you that may or may not surprise you. But most importantly, what I'm going to be sharing with you is how to make the positive change in your life, how to actually change your life for the better. Now, that does not mean that there's something wrong with you or that your life is a mess. That's not what it means. Now, in some cases, it may be. Your life may be upside down. I've been there. You may be in a place where you're completely dissatisfied with your results. But I know a number of the people that are here. I see some of our very serious students that are also here that are in many of our programs. And I know there are people that have a wonderful life and they understand that in order to experience more, that they must be more. And the beingness comes from feeling. And so we're going to dive into that today. All right, great. And, I want to thank Roddy and Vladdy for opening up the show, if you will, earlier. And thank you for the claps. That's very kind. Roddy and Vladdy and Kayla are all here, and they're all part of the Dynamic Destinies team. And they are like me, every one of them are in the spirit of being of service to you. So as we're going along, if there's something that you might desire, or maybe you missed something or whatever, you have a question, type them in on the chat box and we're going to get to questions. So yes, we're investing 3 hours together today. But during that time that we're going to be here together, I'm definitely going to be taking any questions that you may have. And I know we have a number of people that are on this program or on this class right now that have been serious students for a while, that may already be a coach, a destiny coach, may already be a speaker. But I believe that if we get to a point where we think we have it all figured out, it's a dangerous place to be, because we don't. We can always receive more understanding, more depth of understanding. I began studying personal development 43 years ago, almost 44. In January, it'll be 44 years that I attended my very first seminar. And I realized that that was an extraordinary event that absolutely opened up my mind to something that I was completely unaware of. And being unaware or being in the dark is not a great place to be, because I was miserable and my life was just an absolute mess. It was a mess. But, however, call it fortunate, whatever, was I led there? How did this occur? Doesn't matter. I ended up in a ballroom with the wonderful, the great Bob Proctor, and he was on stage. And when I arrived, the only seat in the house was a front row center seat. And I was directed to go sit in the front row center. But I went to this event reluctantly. Now, I don't think any of you are here reluctantly. I believe that you're all here by choice. But I had gone there reluctantly because the employer that I worked for at the time had mandated every employee to attend this event. And it was an evening event. And I felt that that wasn't their right to mandate employees to take their evening and go to this event. But I'm ever glad that I did, because that night was a turning point for me, a major turning point in my life. And there were things that I heard that Bob Proctor shared with the audience, whether they were quotes, whether they were stories, whether they were a depth of understanding, that caused me to decide and to commit to learning more. Now, I have never looked back and become a very serious student, even to this day. Now, why I say that is because I want to commend you for being here. You know, you had an opportunity to show up or not, and you did. You're here. It says something about you. It demonstrates your strength. It demonstrates your desire. Like, I really believe that when we have a desire to learn more, to expand our own level of understanding, that to me is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you don't already know, and you may already know. You may already understand this. But what I love about the materials that we're involved with in our corporation Dynamic Destinies is that it's always seeking for a greater expression or understanding in order to produce better results. And the truth is, your life can truly get better. Now, how much better? That depends on you. It depends on what you're going to choose. It depends on what you're going to do. It depends on what you're going to be or who you're going to become and how you are feeling. So let's go over to our PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to walk you through some slides. I have created some slides for today, and I'm going to open up for questions as well. And we're also very open to doing something called laser coaching, where we can actually bring you into the spotlight. If you're having a challenge in your life or you're looking for direction for something, we will open up the space for that as well, provided you stick with us over this period of time. Now, we do have other ways that you can work with us further, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because as I said, I started to study almost 44 years ago, and I still continue to study and invest in myself still to this day. Because I think if you really think you've got it all figured out, it's a dangerous place to be. So let's go to our presentation for today so that we can dive into this understanding of mastery a little bit further. All right, here we go. Okay, you are the way you are because what has gone into your mind. So this statement was a statement that I heard many, many years ago. And I just want to pause for a moment and really think about, what does this mean? You are the way you are because of what has gone into your mind. So what that also can indicate is that you can become something different by putting something different into your mind. But you are the way you are because of what's gone into your mind. However, what I suggest is that you do not judge it. Okay, so if we think back to almost 44 years ago, and I'm sitting in a ballroom with Bob Proctor on stage, and let's say he said those words, you are the way you are because of what's gone into your mind. And he said those words. And I sat there and realized that at that time, I was all consumed in debt. I had relationships that were just falling apart. I disliked what I was doing in my career. I was pretty much miserable, angry, would cry myself to sleep. And not too long before I had met Bob, I was in a park trying to figure out how to end my life. So pretty dark place, I would say, but no judgment. Let's not judge that. It just is what it is. Now, at the time, I was certainly judging it. Now I realize that we cannot judge ourselves that way. Why? Because it serves no good. It serves no purpose. It doesn't cause you to feel better. In fact, it causes you to feel worse. So regardless of where you are in your life right now, regardless of what you've created or not created, it is what it is. Let it go. We cannot change the time we got out of bed this morning. I remember hearing that from Brian Proctor, who heard that from his father. We can't change the time we got out of bed this morning. Think about how profound that comment is. Can't change the time you got out of bed this morning. You absolutely cannot. But what can you do about it? Maybe nothing. Now, if you've had an experience in your life that wasn't enjoyable, or perhaps even traumatic, you can look at that event and just ask yourself, what's great about this? What's great about this? Like, I feel blessed for the experiences that I've gone through in my life. Why? Because it gives me such a depth of understanding from an experiential point of view. I know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep. I know what it's like to feel like you're a worthless piece of crap. I know what it's like to not want to live. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be all consumed in debt. I know what it's like to lose a loved one. I know what it's like to get a diagnosis. It's very scary. I know what that's like. So I'm grateful for it. I'm not saying I want to attract those kinds of experiences in my life. I'm grateful that I've had them. Why? Because they were learning experiences, and there were blessings in every single experience, just as there are in your life. Everything that's happened to you up to this point, you can look back and view it as a blessing. You can view it and ask yourself, what's great about the experiences that I have had in my life? Now, not everybody has gone through trauma or challenges. Many people do. We live in a rather interesting world where there is a lot of chaos. There's a lot of emotional turbulence, if you will. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of resentment that's out there in the world. And there's a lot of worry, and there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of negativity. Now, we're not here to just focus on what all of that negative stuff is, or that negative energy is that's going on, but it's there, and we can't pretend that it's not. And we certainly can't pretend that we aren't experiencing some level of challenging emotion, because everybody does. But what we have to understand is, if we are the way we are because of what's gone into our mind, then we certainly would want to pay attention to what we're allowing into our mind, right? You would want to pay attention to that. Why? Because it's impacting you. Now, you could reject it. You could reject what I'm saying right now if you want. That's the reasoning mind. That's part of your conscious mind. But you actually are taking in everything that you're picking up from your senses. Everything is making an impression in your mind. Everything. Whether it's good or bad, it's all making an impression in your mind. And that's the same thing for young people as well. Everything that they're seeing, everything that they're watching is making an impression in their young, impressionable minds. And it's as a child that our beliefs are formed. And this is why it can be challenging to make the change, is because we're already programmed. We've been programmed one way or another. Now, we've been programmed because of what we've allowed into our mind, what we've allowed into our consciousness. But the real powerhouse, the part of you that has the enormous, incredible power, is your subconscious mind. That's your subconscious mind. So if you are the way you are because of what's gone into your mind, this can be both interesting news if we evaluate, what we've experienced in our life. But going forward from this point on, when we know and understand we are the way we are because of what's gone into our mind, we would choose, I would imagine, we would choose to only put in our mind what serves us, right? Which supports us in the fulfillment of our desires. And also, it could be that it serves us as we serve others. So what I choose to put into my mind, what I choose to study, the books I choose to read, the videos I choose to watch, the courses I choose to gain are all designed around expanding my consciousness so that I can serve you better. Even though it's been almost 44 years that I've been putting the good into my mind over and over again. But I want to talk to you about how, since every part of us, everything that we've ever experienced has made an impression into our subconscious mind, how we can override old conditioning, how we can overpower the old ways of feeling so that we're creating and attracting to us only the things that we desire. So that's what we're going to be discussing throughout this time that we're here together. So this slide, and there's a couple slides that I'm going to point out as we're going through the presentation that I borrowed from the wonderful Bob Proctor. And Bob had told me years ago, he said, use anything I have. He used to send me his slides. I mean, we did a lot of teaching together. We did seminars together. We actually ran a company together for a few years. And this is one of Bob Proctor's slides, and it was very relevant for what we're talking about today. So I decided to bring it into my presentation. So here's what Bob said. This is really a black and white deal. It does not matter how hard you work or how many hours you put in. If the paradigm, which are your beliefs that are in your subconscious mind, if the paradigm does not change, ultimately the results will remain much the same from one year to the next. All right, so this could be like, you think about someone who has been doing the work, and maybe it's somebody that's here right now with us during this class. Someone who's been doing the work, they've been attending the courses, maybe reading the books, watching the videos, and yet their life hasn't changed. And I get that question asked often, and they're like frustrated, maybe banging on the desk, like, why is it not working for me? Why is my life not changing? And it could be, one of two reasons. Now, if somebody is slamming on the desk and they're all upset, I can see what the reason is. Do you know what the reason would be? It's pretty obvious, right? They're absolutely out of alignment, right? They're emotionally feeling what? Frustrated, right? And if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling disillusioned, you're blocking the flow. It is not, your goal is not going to be attracted to you. It won't. It can't get in. It doesn't reside. It can't live and survive in that energy because it's not a match. It's not a match for what you desire. So if someone asks me, why is it not here? And depending on how they ask, so if they ask from a frustrated state, they're blocking the flow. It's as simple as that. However, if someone says to me that they've been doing the work, that they have created the alignment, that they're consistent with it, and they're committed with it, and they're doing every day, and they ask in a curious way, just simply from a place of curiosity, that they have not yet manifested the result into physical form yet, and they want to know why, well, it could very likely be it's the gestation period. It's the period of time that this desire is going to manifest is an unknown. We don't know how long it's going to take for a goal to manifest. We don't know that. No one knows that. And so even though you've set the objective and you have the desire, and perhaps you're feeling the alignment, it will come to you. It absolutely will. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Now, why would I say that? Because this is how the law works, the laws of the universe. And the laws of the universe are precise. And the laws of the universe are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the laws work for everyone, every single person on the planet. And it doesn't judge. There's no criticism with the laws. It's whatever you would desire. If you had a desire to do something great, to build a wildly successful multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar business, as an example, and you begin to think the thought, who am I to do something like that? Not educated enough, not experienced enough, don't have enough money, not living in the right country, whatever it happens to be, whatever that is simply a paradigm, which is a belief that's going to hold you back. So if we think about what Bob said, it's a black and white deal. And this is what I loved about the way that Bob Proctor taught. And this is why I resonate with it so much, is because I love to distill this down to such simplicity that you will understand it. Because this is what I did for myself first, before I experienced the change. And I feel that anyone that's in this space where I'm at, they've earned the right to be here. They've invested in themselves to be here, to share this guidance. So if we look back to what Bob said with this black and white deal, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how many hours you put in. If the paradigm doesn't change, ultimately the results will remain the same from one year to the next. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the person who has the goal. Maybe it's you. You have the goal and you feel that you've been doing everything that you should be doing, but then you get to this point where you feel really frustrated. and you're feeling very challenged and you're thinking, it's not working. Like that is what we call an intense emotion. Intense emotion. And the truth is this, it's not that you won't feel the negative emotions. It's not that you won't feel frustrated or disillusioned. Not saying you will, but you might. You might feel emotions that are on what's considered the negative level or the low level of energy, destructive emotions. You may feel those. It's what are the dominant feelings that you're engaged in on a regular basis. This is a very important question to ask yourself. What are the dominant emotions or feelings? We'll interchange those words. What are the dominant emotions that I am engaged in on a regular basis? This is awareness, and awareness is key. Awareness will shed light on things if you choose to shed the light on it in areas that you can uncover or discover where or how you may be blocking the flow. Now, this is not what we're going to focus on. This is not what we're going to shed a light on and put a spotlight on and leave it on. And that's what we're, oh, yes, it's because of this. It's because of the frustration. It's because of the lack of belief in myself, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't matter. The awareness part of the experience is just to simply become aware, to notice, so that you can do something about it, so that you can change it, right? If you're not aware that the challenge is there, how are you ever going to do something about it? And so it just gives you that understanding. Now, how do you know whether you have paradigms that are in front of you, that are blocking you, they're not in front of you, they're within you, that are blocking you from experiencing your results? Do you know how you know that? Type in the chat box if you know how you know what the paradigms are that may be blocking you. How do you know what they are? There's simple answers. There's a couple simple answers. Pay attention to your thoughts and your body. Thank you. Okay, who else? Results. Yeah, absolutely. Looking at our results. Yeah, Vladdy wrote that one. How you feel exactly. Yes, that's right. Ginny wrote them both down together. Results and emotion. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that's it. How do you know? Look at your results. So if money or finances is something that you would like to improve in your life and you realize that you haven't done it, take a look at your results. So what's going on there? Well, you're obviously not in harmony with what you desire, right? Vladdy was talking about that this morning. She was talking about one of the classes that we have in our Skipping Levels program is called Prosperity Consciousness. Now, there are many classes that we have in Skipping Levels. That program is designed for those that want to experience a quantum leap. And Vladdy was saying that this particular class is one of her favorites, Prosperity Consciousness. And she has chosen to be in a prosperity consciousness all the time. Now, if you're in a prosperity consciousness, how would you be going about your day? How would you be living? Let's say you see a really amazing car go by and you think, oh, I'd love to have that. You wouldn't look at that and say, oh, I'd really love to have that, but I know I can't. That's a lack mentality. Now, it's not only about stuff here, okay? I want you to understand, I'm not talking about you just attracting things into your life. What I would love for you is to reach a point where you feel emotionally fulfilled, where you feel a great sense of satisfaction. You feel a wonderful sense of relaxation. You feel that sense of peace, calm, fulfillment, because ultimately that's what people really want when they want the things, when they want the stuff, when they want the money. It's not that they want the money, they want what it brings to them in their life. The freedom, perhaps, that they have the freedom to do what they want with whoever they want, whenever they want, right? Absolutely. Is that something that you would love? Who would love to have that opportunity of having what you want, when you want, do what you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want? Would you like that? Okay, good, good, good. Well, we're really talking about a feeling state. So if that was the way your life was today, you're living your life doing what you want, when you want, with whoever you want, and you have everything in your life, how would you be feeling? How would you be feeling? Type in the chat box on the right-hand side. How would you be feeling? Excited. Okay, good. Freedom and joy. I love that. Inspired, happy and content, satisfied, empowered, relaxed, grateful, free and glorious, generous. I like that. Peaceful. It would be amazing. Financial independence, blessed, fulfilled, amazing, ecstatic, light, fantastic. Okay, they're pouring in now. I love it. Super stoked. Yeah. Ecstatic. Wonderful. Okay. Now I have a question for every one of you that answered that question. Is this your dominant emotion? Is this your dominant emotion every day? Is it your dominant emotion? Honest, just answer honestly. Okay. Okay, we're getting some honest answers coming in. That's okay. It's okay. No need to gulp. It is what it is. You know, what's valuable is to be aware of that and to have the realization that that's the way it is. Because if that's the way it is, if you're not feeling those emotions right now, that simply means what? What does that mean if you're not feeling those emotions? What does it mean? Type in the chat box. Not in alignment. Bang on, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, Heather. You're absolutely right. Not in alignment. Not in alignment, Barbara. Yes, absolutely right. You're not in alignment, out of alignment. You're not on the same frequency. Something is happening. Paradigm, not open, scared, not in alignment. Don't believe it. Need to fix it. Paradigm is winning. Yes, 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 yes. I see I'm preaching to the converted here. Not a perfect match. Wrong vibration. Absolutely. Now, how many of you would love to have that be your dominant emotion? Easily. Yes. Okay, good, good. Love it. Perfect. Grateful for awareness. This is so great stuff. Never enough of it. I love your attitude, Catherine. So beautiful. Me too. I'm very much the same way. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, good. All right. Well, I'm going to share that with you today. We're definitely going to dive into that today. So Bob says it's a black and white deal. And I love it when it's simple and you have that understanding and you realize, okay, it's either. Now, this is what's great about this. The solution is also very easy to understand or simple to understand, maybe a little challenging to replace. Now, I have pulled from another one of Bob Proctor's fabulous slides. And I love that Bob used to do all of his slides. It was fun. And when you see slides like this one that you're about to see that he builds upon, it's so amazing how he would create this. So this is one of Bob's slides where he said, why is repetition necessary when changing paradigms? And that's really what we're all doing here today, is we're here to change our paradigms. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You're perfect. You're perfect just the way you are. But we are evolving beings. We're human beings that are evolving. And we all, every one of us, has an opportunity to have our life go better, to experience more, to reach another level of peace, perhaps, whatever that may be. So why is repetition so necessary? Well, we're going to look at Bob's demonstration of this because I think it's a brilliant demonstration. So he says the white line above, and it's going to be a very thin line, but you'll understand it when you see it, is the sound of a recording playing. So it's like if you decide you're going to listen to an audio over and over and over again. All right, you're going to listen to this audio or you're going to attend a seminar. Many of you are here, some of you for the first time, many of you for the, I don't know, 118th time, whatever that may be, and that's okay. So the red line is going to represent you listening to whatever it is you're listening to. In this case, let's use the webinar as an example. So the information is being presented. We've been on this call now for 37 minutes or 35 minutes so far. What's happened in that 35 minutes is you've left the building. Your thoughts have left the building. You've gone off somewhere for a period of time. Not that you weren't interested, but maybe you were on a telephone call. Maybe, I don't know, something else was going on in the room that distracted you. Maybe you went off on a little, travel in your mind to some other place, whatever it might be. Either way, you're listening, But then you get to a point where you stop listening. Okay, something hits your conscious mind. And this may happen and will likely happen even as we're going through this presentation, especially when I'm talking about your dreams and you dreaming big. Maybe you'll hear something and think, oh, I'd really love to create that in my life. And that's an idea that hits your subconscious mind. What happens is, as we'll see with this little yellow bar here, you stop listening, right? This is a thought frequency. You've gone on to another thought frequency up here. So, and this could be me talking, or it could be you listening to your Power Life script, or you listening to a lesson. As Vladdy mentioned, she loves the prosperity consciousness lesson, but you're listening and all of a sudden, you're doing well. And then you go off, you get distracted. So you're thinking about another idea and you stop listening to whatever it was that you were previously listening to. And then you find yourself back, you're listening again. And then you go off again, and then you come back and you're listening again. What's happening is your paradigm is also playing a role in what you're choosing to even accept or give your attention to. And so as you can see from this demonstration, you haven't heard everything. Everything hasn't gone into your subconscious mind unless you're sleeping. Because when you're sleeping, your subconscious mind is wide open, or you're a baby, because baby's subconscious mind is wide open and they're receiving everything that they're hearing. And so as you're listening to either your Power Life script, or as you're listening to other learning materials or teachings, you're going to find that you'll get distracted from time to time. So that's why repetition is so important. You listen again. This time you're listening and you go off on another thought, another wave of thought at a different point. Maybe earlier, but then you come back a little earlier than you did the last time. Maybe you stay longer and then you go off on another point. And so you're coming in and you're coming out of awareness of what you're really listening to. And through the repetition of hearing it over and over and over and over again, you'll come to a different level of understanding. Let me just go back to this for a moment. So I think about Bob Proctor often talked about listening to Earl Nightingale, and he had a copy of The Strangest Secret on a record player. And he even bought himself a portable record player that ran by battery that he could listen to at any time. And he had listened to that audio, I think he said 1,000 times, maybe more, maybe thousands of times. And perhaps you've done the same. Like I've been listening to my Power Life script since the 90s, and I listen to it multiple times a day. Now I'm listening to it at night when I go to sleep. I have a nighttime version of my Power Life script that I just push play when I lay down, and it plays while I'm sleeping. Why am I doing that? Because I'm reprogramming my subconscious mind. I'm impressing into my subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is open and receptive to ideas, only the ideas and only the thoughts that are in harmony with what I desire. And so these are two known ways to change your paradigm. And there's the ways to change your paradigm is through space-time repetition of ideas, concepts that serve you, Now you do that through studying, reading the books, going on the audios, being a part of Club Achieve as an example, which is our study club. You do that by attending events. We're doing Masters Manifesting here in Ottawa, a 2-day event that I'm delivering with my good friend, Phil Goldfine, who's an Academy Award-winning producer and a multimillionaire investor. And this is how you build the paradigm. And I'm the kind of person, and I know there's a number of you that are like this on this call, that it's like just an absolute addict for the materials. Why? Because they will continually change your life. And it helps you to reinforce the beliefs in the paradigms that serve you. And that's what you want to be doing, is you want to be focused on only the things that are going to serve you, your consciousness, your mind. They're going to help you build those belief systems within you so that you are easily attracting into your life what you desire, right? This is how it becomes, meaning success, goal achievement becomes easier, is when you are programmed for success. where you're programmed almost like robotic, right? There's no other way for you to go about your life other than succeeding and achieving every goal you set for yourself. That's called mastery. This event is called mastery. Now, will you master it today? Not likely. Will you master it if you stick with it in 3 days, 5 days, 7 days? Not likely. It's going to take longer. It's absolutely going to take longer because the paradigms, which are your belief systems that are already built within you, in your subconscious mind, which is incredibly powerful. Some say the subconscious mind is 95% of your creations, right? 5% is your conscious mind. And even though Bob had a stickman concept that showed a circle with the top part being conscious mind, the bottom part being conscious mind, I understand. There we go. Michelle's showing her pillow there. Let me spotlight her. There we go. He's got this, thank you, Michelle. That was very handy that you had that. Think, believe, and do. So the top part of that circle is the conscious mind. The bottom part is the subconscious mind, and the lower part is the body. And it's the subconscious mind where the powerhouse is. That's where your beliefs are. That's where your paradigms are. But the conscious mind is where you allow them in or not. But the truth is, thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate you sharing that with us. But the truth is this. The truth is that everything that we are seeing, everything that we're hearing, we are taking in, and it makes an impression into our subconscious mind. Now, that was something that I hadn't heard many, many years ago, but I believe it to be true. And lately, I've been studying Robert Collier's book, The Secret of the Ages, and he talks about that in there. Everything that you have seen, everything that you have heard has made an impression into your subconscious mind. And that includes watching violence on television or watching violent movies, everything, or looking at those rag magazines that are, they're entertaining to some degree, and you're taking it in. You're taking it in. It's making an impression into your subconscious mind, everything. However, you've got the ability to manage that. You have the ability to override what's there. And you simply replace. It's not that it's going to be gone or gone forever. Like, all my experiences are still a part of who I am. The way that I was raised is still a part of who I am. But I choose to give my attention to different thoughts, different beliefs that that are now in harmony with what I desire, but previously were not. And I do that by discipline. So you've got to be ready to discipline yourself to create success. But when you do, everything can change and everything will change. So it could be a profound experience that leads to a life-altering decision, or it could be just a place of dissatisfaction that leads to a life-altering decision. But the truth is this, and this is a very important part of change, of positive change, and that is you must decide to make the change. An irrevocable decision that you are no longer going to play small, that you are now stepping up to live the life that you would love to be living. Now, how many of you have made that decision already? You may have made it today in the last 40 minutes, 43 minutes. Maybe you made it before you even got here today. But what I'd like to know is how many of you have made the decision for positive change in your life? Okay, good. One person. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting some answers there. Yes. Because if you haven't made the decision, oh, thank you for raising your hand. I appreciate that, Catherine. If you haven't made the decision, you're going to be wasting your time here. You're wasting your time. And I'm certain you don't want to do that. Beautiful. Okay, great. And as I said earlier, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect just the way you are. We're just looking at helping you improve upon what you're currently experiencing, what you're currently feeling, so that you can really finally have, do, be, experience more of what you would love. All right. Thank you. Okay. I appreciate you guys for answering the question. And I love serving those that have made a commitment to the change. Okay, let's keep going. So there's really two sides to each of us. Now, is it really as simple as this, as black and white as this? One side is the negative side, one side is the positive side. Yes, I believe we can look at it this way. And again, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You've received impressions. They may not have come from you thinking a thought. They may have come from the beliefs that were built when you were young, when you were a young child. You see, our paradigms are built when we're young, and we're influenced by those that are in our life, whether they're our caregivers, babysitters, teachers, clergy people, parents, siblings, other relatives, friends, whatever they are, they're all making an impression. That's why when we hear about a straight A student in school who all of a sudden is not a straight A student and starts skipping class and doing things that weren't normal, is because they've been influenced. They've been influenced by another. Or we could have it, we can look at it the other way. We could have somebody who's maybe not one of the great students, a low grade student getting D's or E's or whatever, perhaps failing consistently, and they make a decision. They make a decision that they are going to dig in, they're going to study, they're open to change, they're adjusting their attitude, and all of a sudden they become a straight A student. Both of those scenarios are possible, and both of those scenarios unfold. And there's a part of everyone, there's a creative part. There's something within you now in your paradigms that's very supportive and very positive, but there very likely is another side. We can call it the dark side if you want. And I remember Debbie Ford, who was a client of mine, very successful author. She's passed on from the earthly plane now, wrote a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And so these are people that are seeking, they're seeking for better results. They have a desire to experience more joy in their life, to feel more relaxed, to create more abundance, but yet there's another side to them. And that was called the dark side. It's the paradigms. That's what it is. It's the old paradigms. So in my particular case, if we think about the way I was many, many years ago, I was filled with lots of darkness, a lot of negativity. And this wouldn't have been an even ratio kind of image. It would probably be the dark side would have definitely overrode the light side. And it depends on what you're giving attention to on a consistent basis. So you remember earlier I mentioned about the dominant emotions. It's what your dominant emotions are. This is the same idea. Where are you investing your energy? So if we have two sides, I'm not saying they're equal, because they're not necessarily equal. Right now, I would say my white side or my light side is far more prevalent than it is the dark side. But is the dark side there? Sure. I remember asking Bob Proctor one time, at what point do these old paradigms, or this dark side, if you will, stop fighting us? And he said, never. And I understand that. I understand it because it's a part of who you are. But when you have an awareness, when you choose to be aware, when you choose to notice what you're noticing, when you choose to pay attention to how you're feeling, then and only then can you do something about it. And this is where you want to get into something called switching techniques, which we'll talk a little bit more about as we go further along. Switching techniques are techniques that take you away from focusing on the things that don't serve you and won't serve you and could potentially lead to destruction, and have you focusing on the things that will in fact serve you. So if we think about the poem called The Eagle and the Wolf, and I heard this poem 43 and a half years ago from Bob Proctor, and I printed it and framed it. I still have it actually, and had it in my home because I loved what it represents. So let's look at this. There's a great battle that rages inside me. One side is the soaring eagle. Everything the eagle stands for is good and true and beautiful, and it soars above the clouds. Even though it dips down into the valleys, it lays its eggs on the mountaintops. The other side of me is the howling wolf, and that raging, howling wolf represents the worst that's in me. He eats upon my downfalls and justifies himself by his presence in the pack. Who wins this great battle? The one I feed. So think about what this poem says about the eagle, that everything the eagle stands for is good and true and beautiful, and it soars above the clouds. So what does that mean? What's the metaphor here? It's positive, has a wonderful outlook. It's enthusiastic, inspired. feeling good. Now, even though it dips down into the valleys, right? Have a sad day, have an off moment, feel disillusioned. It dips down, comes right back up. It lays its eggs on the mountaintops. But then there's the other side, the howling wolf. It's a raging, howling wolf that represents the worst that's in me, eats upon my downfalls and justifies himself by his presence in the pack. Now, what will happen is this: the more you study, the more you apply personal development materials, the more you're shutting down the wolf, that you're not giving any energy. You're not feeding the wolf. You're feeding your ego. You're feeding the positive side, the creative side, the wonderful side of you. That's what you want to be doing, is giving your attention to that side of you, which is potential in everyone. Doesn't matter where you are, what you've done or haven't done in your life, what you may or may not have accomplished in your life. It doesn't matter. You have to let that go. So many people are harboring and hanging on to emotions that are completely destructive. And we can call this suppression. Now, some people suppress them, and some people are just expressing. Now, either way, if it's suppressed or expressed, it's coming out. It's coming out in an energetic form, and we will talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But all the emotions that you are feeling are emitting what's called different frequencies. Now, it's not just a standard. If I'm feeling frustrated, that it's a frequency that I'm sending out and attracting back frustration. It's a frequency, as you can see, that is far from harmonious or smooth. So they've measured this. There have been a lot of measurements done with brain scans, heart coherence. They've measured emotional frequencies, and they've measured them because they wanted to understand them and how destructive negative emotions can be. It's like the saying that goes like this: it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. It only takes a little bit of poison to kill. And I think back to my book, Your Destiny Switch, which was a New York Times bestseller. And the book opens up with 4 epiphanies, experiences that I had in my life that were absolutely life-changing. Now, I've had many of them, but there's particular moments that really stand out from others. And one of them was that statement: it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. And I remember having that epiphany after I learned that years later. And it came to a point where I found in my life I was going through some struggle. Now, we're going back about 30 years now, but I reached this point in my life where I was struggling. And I remember thinking, what the heck? Like, this stuff doesn't work. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had that thought, that this stuff doesn't work. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I know it does, but I had that thought way back when, many, many years ago. This stuff doesn't work. Now, why would I have that thought? Because what I was experiencing in my life wasn't working. My marriage was falling apart. That's my first marriage. My second marriage is beautiful and wonderful and a gift from God. But my first marriage wasn't working out. And I just thought, this stuff doesn't work. Like, how could I be at this point in my life where I made this commitment to be married to this individual all my life, and it was unraveling? It like I was feeling like a failure. And then I realized that it's only a little bit of poison that's going to kill. If I get all consumed and just start getting all consumed in negative energy, it's going to bring me down. It's the same thing for anyone else. You've got to be very cautious what you're giving attention to and not judge yourself. Okay, not judge yourself. It is what it is. You're going to harvest the good. This is a Michael Beckwith 3-step process that Bob Proctor learned. You know, when you have an experience that's not desirable, you recognize it is what it is. Harvest the good, forgive the rest. Let it go. Let it go. But I had this realization that I had been thinking that it doesn't work. And that's a poisonous way of being. It's a poisonous thought. I got really frustrated and very likely angry as a result of that. Did that serve me? Absolutely not. And at that point, and at the point that you get to this point of being frustrated or angry or disillusioned or whatever, you're heading in the opposite direction. You want to correct yourself. You want to get back on track. It's easy to do. It can be very easy to slip off track, especially in the beginning when you're learning to condition yourself, when you're choosing to build new paradigms within you. You'll get off track. You will get off track. And even if you're off track more than you're on track, just keep putting yourself right back on track. You got to recognize how destructive negative feelings are. And when we look at this image here that I shared with you of emotions and the frequencies that they emit, you can see that frustration. Now, these are just two emotions, right? Frustration and appreciation. It's not an even wave of energy like appreciation. Frustration's all over the place. But what I want you to really understand, and I want you to understand this because I want to help you, is negative emotions are so destructive. They contaminate everything. And I'm talking about any negative emotion, even if you feel it's justified. People will argue for their justification. I remember one time driving down to my parents' home, and my mom was a pretty negative gal. My father too, to some degree. And they lived in Toronto. I was living in Ottawa at the time. I was born and raised in Toronto. I was driving down, and on my way to my parents' place, I was preparing myself. And I was preparing myself because I knew I was putting myself into an environment that was going to be full of negativity. And one of the things is that my mother loves the television on all day long. She turns on the news when she wakes up in the morning. It's going all day long. She watches shows like Judge Judy, or what was the other one where they used to have people on there fighting, Geraldo. I mean, all right. You remember those shows? I mean, I'm not even sure if they're on today. They may or may not be on, but shows that were filled with conflict and anger and frustration. And then she'd wrap it up at the end of the day by putting on the night news, and she'd go into bed, put the timer on her little remote control so it would shut off after she was asleep. What is she putting in her mind all day long? Negativity, right? Now, I'm not judging my mom. I'm just saying that's the way she was. I knew the way she was. I was raised in that environment. So I'm driving down there and I'm thinking about, okay, I'm putting around a plexiglass shield. Okay, I'm putting this imaginary plexiglass shield all around me. Now, some of you that have negative people in your life, this is a great thing to do, because I know a lot of people ask me this all the time. How do you deal with negative people in your life? You know, some people are married to somebody who's negative. Not you guys, but but there are people that have, you know, spouses, parents, siblings, neighbors. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And so I was driving down, getting ready with my plexiglass shield, and I decided that I'm just going to let her comments bounce off. Not going to argue with my mom. I love my mom. My mom loved me. I'm not going to go there and have fights with her because I wasn't thinking the way she was thinking. I had changed the way I was thinking. I used to think that way. I was raised in that environment, but I met Bob Proctor and I chose to make some changes in my life. Now, she was aware of that. They could see the change and they were curious about it, but they were still in habitual ways of being. So I'm preparing myself to get there. And I decided that I'm either going to let her comments bounce off, not let it in, not get emotionally involved in what she was saying, and maybe respond with something like, oh, that's interesting. Or, yeah, I can understand why you would feel that way. You know, just not being sarcastic or cruel, just honoring, I understand. That's the way you would feel. And another strategy that I decided was whenever she'd say something negative, I would give her an opportunity to look at it in another light. This is a strategy of finding the good, of finding the blessing, finding the positive. It's like looking at it from another side. So I get to my mom's house and she begins, I'm letting it bounce off, bounce off, bounce off. And then she started talking about my brother, Bobby. And she said something, maybe not complimentary. And I responded back with, well, isn't it wonderful that he did this? And the moment that I changed the way that we were looking at the situation, it's almost like the dog that tilts their head when they don't understand. I could tell her, like, what are you doing? She didn't say the words, but I could tell she was confused by my response. And she would say something else. Yeah, but blah, 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 and talk about Bobby again. And I would say something positive. And it got to a point that she felt defeated because she knew that I wasn't going to accept these ideas into my consciousness. And so what's really important is that we're aware of what we're choosing to experience, what we're choosing to give energy to, and not get involved in the other person's negative energy. Now, she could have been justified all day long as to why she was thinking the way she was thinking, or why she was feeling the way she was feeling. And I remember one time, a little later on, when she was approaching, her later years in life, and I asked her, I said, Mom, would you like to, change your results? And she was so sweet because she came to one of my seminars one time. It was the first time she ever came to my seminar. She also came to a book launch party, and I asked her, do you want to change? And her answer was this: it's too late for me. I said, what do you mean it's too late for you? Like, I'm in my 70s. Like, it's too late for me. I said, it's not too late for you. If you're breathing, it's not too late for you. You just have to decide to make the change. And she felt it was just too late. There was no hope for her. Now, I suppose some positive changes occurred there. And, I believe that some positive changes occurred. But if you're not willing to make the change, then obviously it's not going to work. But we have to really be aware, and it doesn't matter where we are. Now, could my mom have made positive and massive changes in her life at that point? Absolutely. Have others done that? Absolutely. When we were studying The Power of Your Subconscious Mind in our Club Achieve group, in the last chapters of that book by Dr. Joseph Murphy, he was talking about elderly people that have gone on to do extraordinary things. And it's because they decided to. They made a decision to. That they made a choice. And we're at choice always. You're at choice right now. We're at choice always in how we're going to feel. We're at choice in how we're going to think. We're at choice as far as what we're going to do with this information and what we're going to do beyond leaving this seminar today. You're at choice. But I will tell you this, if you want your life to change for the better, you must be committed. You've got to be invested in yourself. The only reason why my life changed for the better, why I am where I am today, is because I invested in myself and stayed committed. And I'm still committed to this day. You've got to be committed. And I really believe that the business that we're in here at Dynamic Destinies is the best business in the world. Why? Because it up-levels people. It invites good. It's only positive and progressive. And when you're in the business yourself, you can help other people. And when you help other people, you help yourself as well. So all of the emotions that you have within you, and we have a variety of emotions. There's a whole scale of human emotions, from the positive to the negative. They're all within us, are following us wherever we go. It's like our baggage, if you will. And we've heard that term. You very likely heard that term, with people that are thinking about relationships and they think they're bringing their baggage with them. Well, they might be talking about their situation, their current living situation. But it's also your emotions. Your emotions go with you wherever you go. You don't leave them at home when you go on a vacation. You don't leave them in your bedroom when you go to the office. During the day, they're with you at all times. So you want to be giving attention to what are you feeling? And are you feeling the emotions that are in alignment with how you want to be living your life? Are you feeling the emotions that are in alignment with how you want to be living your life? And if not, you can choose that now. You can absolutely choose that. You see, emotions are habits. They're habits. And 90% of your energy is invested in dealing with incoherent emotions. Now, I heard that stat recently by a PhD. Now, if it's true, I don't know, but I thought it was worth sharing. 90% of your energy is invested in dealing with incoherent emotions. What are incoherent emotions? What are incoherent emotions? They're destructive emotions. They're negative emotions. But the truth is this, and this is a valuable understanding. People are addicted to certain emotions like anger. I was addicted to anger when I was a child. Why? Because I felt it. I was being abused. But here's the interesting thing that can happen. When people have an addiction to a certain emotion, I just want to stop the share here and talk to you about this. This is so important and so valuable when we think about emotions being addictive. Think about this. Think about an individual who is typically angry, right? You've heard people called that, right? Like grumpy, a grumpy old man. Well, they're not just old men that get grumpy. There's people that are grumpy, right? They're miserable. They're miserable. I remember my father at one point was being called miserable. He wasn't always like that. And actually later on in life, he ended up with dementia and became very happy. And I remember talking to his sister one time and I said, it's amazing, how dad is. And she said, well, that's the way young Bobby, my dad's name was Bob as well. She said, that's the way young Bobby was. They used to call my dad Bobby when he was a little boy. And she said, he was so sweet and so, because when my dad had a stroke and he developed dementia, he was childlike, but it was beautiful because he was a happy child. I'd go to see him and I'd walk in his room. He was in a nursing home. And I'd walk in his room and he'd go, hi, so nice to see you. Now, my dad never did that before the stroke. He'd barely even look at you walk in the room. And so here he was, childlike behavior. But he was in a habit prior to that of being miserable, for whatever reason. And it, again, can be justified. But this is something, I heard this example recently about a woman who was angry, was in the habit of being angry, and she would get in relationships and she would be in a place called bliss, what those new relationships are like, and they're wonderful and you're happy and you're enjoying it. And then all of a sudden she would find she's angry at this person. She's almost looking for things to be angry at, not realizing even why, why is this happening? Not even asking the question, why is this happening? And then what happens? The relationship dissolves. It dissolves. Why? And then the justification will come along. Well, because he's this and he's that and he's the other thing. But what was happening was she was getting angry at him for whatever reason, no reason, what some people might think. Then goes to another relationship. What happens? It's bliss, it's fun, it's exciting, it's enjoyable. They get into a relationship. Then all of a sudden she's finding things that she's angry about. And maybe justified for sure. Anger is the dominant emotion, ends the relationship, and then maybe at some point starts to notice, there's a pattern here. There's something that's common in all of these relationship scenarios. The same thing with employment. The person gets a new job. They're excited about a job and they get the job and they start working for the company and they're in a habit of being angry. And they're, have nothing to be angry about, but they start looking for the things to be angry about. Oh, the boss is always telling me what to do, making unreasonable demands. What do? Leave the job. They go to another job. When we think about that slide I just shared you bring your baggage with you everywhere you go. If you're in a habit of being angry or any other emotion, fearful, you probably know somebody who worries a lot, right? They call them worry warts. My mother was a worry wart. All right. People that are like that. Doesn't matter where they go, what they're doing, they'll bring it with them. All right. So this person gets the job. They find they're angry at their employer, angry at the company, angry at the people they work with. What do? Leave the job. What do? Go find another job. What happens there? Repeat pattern. They may not even realize what the heck's going on here. Why am I always creating these scenarios that are resulting in the same outcome? It's because of habitual ways of being. You see, we're habitual emotional beings. Your emotions are habit. If you're in the habit of being positive, you'll bring that with you wherever you go. If you're in the habit of looking at the bright side of life, like that song says, what are you going to see? The bright side of life. But if you're at the habit of always finding something wrong with every scenario, whatever that is, what's going to happen for you? You're going to find something wrong. So I really believe it's valuable to become aware. What are your emotional habits? I had all kinds of emotional habits before. Now, here's one that I think you're all going to find fascinating: the habit of lack. Now, what's the habit of lack? Vladdy had said she loves prosperity consciousness. Now, Vladdy, were you previously in a habit of lack? Let's see if Vladdy will be willing to share with us. I'm going to bring her into the spotlight now. Putting her on the spot and bring her into the spotlight. Hey, Vladdy.
Yeah, I used to think, because when you're focusing, that's why I love the consciousness prosperity, because the most of the times, and like Peggy just said, it's like I know there is a science behind it, 5% of you thinking consciously every day. 95% of the other time we're run by what is actually in us. And this is the beliefs, the patterns, everything that Peggy just mentioned. And I was thinking luck, because mindset of luck is really, the minute you say, well, I can't do that, I can't have that. When you actually mentioned, did you believe these materials work? I never doubted the materials, but I didn't believe I can make them work, because you see all these success cases, and I always thought, like, they must find someone unique to manifest these desires they have using the materials. And I borrowed the belief, so that was but I was thinking luck, and we think luck more times than we actually believe that we do. We could probably, if we just notice how you're pay attention to what is your belief about money, relationship, love, working. Do you deserve everything? Can you say, I'm more than good enough? Like, every statement you make brings the emotions within you, and that is what your belief is, and you might not even notice. So mindset of luck is, oh, I have to pay this debt, and I don't have enough money to buy the house. When I have more money, then I will do this. When I find a new job, I will be so happy. When I do this, it doesn't work like that. The wealth comes from within you. So when you're happy, then you attract better job. When you feel love, then you attract more people that are loving. When you feel that you have abundance of everything, I love Peggy's statement, like, I have an abundance of money to do whatever I desire to do. I've adopted the statement of hers, and you repeat it so many times that you actually believe it, because you've said it so many times that your subconscious mind doesn't question it anymore. It's just a normal statement. And the more you use them, this is why it's so powerful to be disciplined. So yeah, mindset of luck, yeah, of course, always. Like, if you told me you can buy any house you like, you can just travel wherever, I knew I can, but no, I don't have enough money. So that is luck. It is the energy of luck. And make no mistakes, it will attract more debts. Your fridge breaks, something just goes wrong, and you think, what is happening? You in a mindset of luck, and you are transmitter. So you're attracting more breakage, more luck, more debts, and things going wrong. You can stop it like this. And that is the most amazing thing what I've learned. So yeah.
I love that, Vladdy, and thank you for sharing that, because the truth is, like, if anyone, and I appreciate Jamie for sharing, that's something that you're choosing to work on. If anyone is experiencing lack of, anything that you have in your life, and it can work with relationships too. It's like, I know an individual who wants to have, this is someone I've known for a while, she wants to have a loving relationship in her life. And so in her mind, there's a lack of single men out there, or nice single men out there. So what she chooses is to look at, oh, this guy's a jerk, or, that person, or she'll see a happy couple, or a couple walking down the road holding hands. And in her mind, she's thinking, oh, I wish I could have that. Well, if you're wishing you could have something and you're not feeling as if, you could have it, then you're in a state of lack. But lack financially, like we think about, there was a pandemic that went through the world, still going on for the last 2.5 years. There was another one. It's a lack one, and we see it, and it reveals itself in situations like recessions, right? Where people get fear, they get concerned. And I think about, becoming aware of lack mentality starts from being aware of what you're thinking, being aware of what you're choosing to focus on. It's like if you go in the grocery store and you walk in the grocery store and you see something you want, just buy it. I don't look at prices. Bob taught me that years ago. Don't look at prices. Just ask yourself, do I want it? Do you want it? Never look at prices. So if someone comments to me that the price of tomatoes has gone way up, I don't have a clue how much anything is. I really don't have a clue how much stuff costs, because now that's not irresponsible. It's just that I know there's an abundance. You, all of us, we all live in an abundant world. There's an abundance. There's more than enough going on in this, going around in this world. Money is meant to circulate. Just prior to the class starting, I picked up this book by Dr. Joseph Murphy called Miracles of the Mind. And he said, what you really want is to have a subconscious conviction that money will always be in constant circulation in your life, meeting all your needs at every moment of time and every point of space. Like, how many of you know people that are in a lack mentality as far as fear based? And I notice it with people that get older, right? They get elderly and they think, oh, I'm going to sock the money away for retirement or whatever, or they put it into investments and they're afraid, because they're worried that they won't have enough or whatever. That is lack mentality. So simply become aware anytime you're thinking lack mentality. If you really were abundantly rich, if you really had everything that you desire, how would you be thinking? Now, I'm not saying go out and spend recklessly or anything like that. I'm suggesting that your code of conduct, your way of being, is that of someone who already is prosperous. So who would that be? It's like that time, and I shared this story before, where I was flying to LA to speak at a conference, and I asked my husband if he wanted to come with me. And he'll come if there's a golf course nearby or maybe a tournament that he can go and attend or whatever. And so I was flying to LA. And there was a tournament that was going on, a golf tournament at the same time. Tiger Woods was playing and he wanted to go see him. And we're going back a few years now. And I said, you want to come with me? And he said, sure. And I said, great, I'll get you a ticket and you can fly with me. And he said, well, just put me in the back of the plane. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't need to spend the money on a ticket for me to ride in first class. And I said, why would you say that? And he said, well, save the money for something else. And I said, you're assuming lack. Now, and this is kind of interesting when you're having conversations like this with people who don't have the understanding, right? And he says, like, what do you mean? I said, there's an abundance. Like, it's not a matter of saving money from your ticket means that I won't have money for something else. We can do whatever we want. So I said, I just, want to ask you, do you want to sit with me, in first class? Because that's where I'll be. I mean, if you want to sit in the back of the plane, I'll put you in the back of the plane. But if you'd like to sit in the front class, I'm buying you a ticket. Well, how much are they? What does it matter? What does it matter? There's always an abundance of money to do whatever you want to do. There's always an abundance. Money is meant to circulate. Money has value when it circulates. I remember Bob Proctor talking about the amount of money that Proctor Gallagher Institute gives to Cynthia Kersey and the Unstoppable Foundation, a very worthy cause. And I've been a donator to the Unstoppable Foundation for many, many years. And I love Cynthia Kersey. She's a wonderful person. And Bob loves Cynthia Kersey, a very close friend. And Bob said this. He said, I don't care if Cynthia is putting it in her backyard and burying it. I don't care what she does with the money. You see, when you release it, we cannot be in a place of judgment for what someone else is going to do with the money. Do what you want with the money. Spend it on whatever you want with the money. It's been released. It's circulated. There's more. There's plenty more. There's a lot more where that came from. And that is a prosperity consciousness, is when you literally see prosperity everywhere. It's like everywhere you look, you see prosperity. And there is prosperity everywhere. There absolutely is prosperity everywhere. We've got glasses for everyone that's coming to the Masters Manifesting event here in October, by the way, because we'll be talking about prosperity consciousness, because your teachers are both millionaires and they'll be sharing how to create abundance in your life as well. But Vladdy, I know for you, that was a major shift in your way of thinking and way of being. And it was something that I know that you chose to work on. You made a commitment to yourself to do that. And recently you took your family on a wonderful trip to Florida, right? Which, you know, 4 of you flying to Florida, renting an RV, going to places like Universal Studios. You went to Nassau, you went all the way down to Key West. I mean, you went everywhere. You did a lot in a relatively short period of time. And this is an experience where, you know, things may or may not be what some people might consider expensive, right? And I know that you had said that Peter had mentioned that, like it's expensive. And the truth is this, it's neither expensive or inexpensive, only thinking makes it so, right? Only thinking makes it so. And when you truly are in the spirit of having abundance, then what does it matter? Right? And I'll give you another example of this. My husband and I went this week to see the Eagles in Ottawa here in concert. When I heard that the Eagles band was coming to Ottawa, I went on to the Ticketmaster website and I bought 2 tickets. And they were pretty good seats. I thought they were wonderful seats. They were about $500 each. And I remember, you know, talking to some friends and saying, we're going to see the Eagles. They said, oh, where'd you get the tickets? I said, Ticketmaster. So they went on there and they could see the tickets are $500 each. They're like, what are you, nuts? You know, you're paying $500 for a ticket to see a band. And that was each. So it was $1,000 for the 2 of us to go see the Eagles. And it's like, I know it's going to be amazing. Like, I love the Eagles. I love all their songs. Like, I knew all their songs, knew all their music. And then about 3 days before the event, friends of mine said that they were interested in going too. I said, well, let me go online and see if there's any tickets available. So I went online, and it's interesting because when I bought the tickets, I had said to my husband, I find those tickets, you know, relative to other events kind of high, you know, and they were, I mean, they were relatively high. And I'm thinking, you know, are there really 12,000 people in Ottawa that are going to pay that kind of money, you know, to go see the Eagles? Anyway, so 3 days before the event, or maybe 4 days before the event, I went online. There were lots of seats available, still a lot of seats available. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the Eagles are going to be, you know, performing to half the stands. And then I noticed they dropped the price, and they dropped them to less than half what we paid. And so I contacted Ticketmaster and I said, can I exchange my 2 tickets for 4 tickets? And I'll just get tickets from my friends, right? And they're like, no, because your tickets are significantly more. We'll exchange them for a higher value, but there weren't any higher value tickets in the place. They're all dropped in price. So I was like, oh, that's interesting that they would do that. And I said to my husband, you know, the concert was great and they performed amazingly well. It was so incredible. And I said to him, I don't really care what I paid to go to this concert. It was an experience that we shared that we'll have forever. Like, I can remember going to certain concerts, you know, in my life. Those are events, may or may not be for you, but those are events that are memorable, right? They've created a memory. So, you know, what do they cost? Doesn't matter. I remember when my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it was around the time that movie, The Bucket List, had been, you know, out in the world. And I asked her, I said, what's on your bucket list? And she said, I want to go back to Florida, and I want to visit my friends, because my parents used to have a home in Florida, and I want to go back and visit my friends. I said, I'll make that happen. So I told my husband, I'm going to make arrangements. I'm going to get first class tickets. And, you know, I'm going to fly mom down there. We're going to rent a house in the neighborhood where she used to live. And we're going to have this amazing time. And I remember when we got on the plane and I said, our seats are right here. She's like, we're sitting here? Like, she was just puzzled, right? Like, first class? I said, yes. What did these seats cost? I said, what does it matter, Mom? Like, it's an experience, right? And how wonderful it is to give in the experience. This is another blessing of being in abundance mentality. I love to give, love to give. And they say it's better to give than it is to receive. I love to receive too, but I sure do love to give. Absolutely love to give. And that's one of the benefits of being prosperous is giving. And so Vladdy, that's what you did with your family and with Peter. And Peter was asking, where are we going next year? Right?
Yeah, he did. I said, well, now we live in an abundance, prosperity, and that's the really a key to a committed decision. It was just May when I was sitting with Peggy, and I said to her, when I will take my family, she was like, I remember stopping me right there. It's like, did you just say will? And this is the language we have with ourselves. So I've made a decision actually when I was sitting with Peggy, I'm gonna take the family in there. Now, obviously, Peter contributed, but the decision was like, we're doing it right now. And he's like, next year. I was like, no, I'm not waiting for next year. I mean, what do we know what happens in a year? Like, you can change your life within a month. Like in 2 months, you'll be so far away. I mean, when I started skipping levels, 6 weeks, and my life I call it turnaround. 6 weeks. Now, how many 6 weeks do you have? Roddy said 100 days till Christmas. Yeah. You can be completely different place, but do you believe it? Even if you don't believe it, borrow somebody else's belief, because it is so easy. But I understand how, and I shouldn't say hard, but it was hard to believe that at the time where I thought this is not possible for me because of all these situations and conditions around you. And that is what we do. You look at your current situations, conditions, circumstances, everything around you, and you give your power away. Because of this and this and this and this and this, I can't do that. And when I have this and this, you conditioning. And even gratitude is like, just be grateful for what you have and be grateful for what's coming, all the greatness, because that will immediately hook you to the frequency of abundance. And you are operating on different frequency, like Peggy showed. So make a decision. And I did. I made a decision, call the agent, pay the deposit. That was all that I had. And I didn't know at that point, I can't come up with the money within a month or two, less than 2 months for a whole trip. We did. Mm-hmm. And was it more expensive than we wanted? Yes. But you know what? We both stood there and said, we would not swap that experience for anything. We just paid off. You know what? We'll make the money again. And it's just money comes to you all the time. But it really is so important to be in a study, be surrounded by the right people, because that is a huge part for me. Like if you're in the environment where people say, you can do that. If you have a dream, then you can have that dream. Don't allow anyone ever tell you you can't do that, because it's from a perception of a person who thinks it's not possible. Like it may be parents, it may be friends, it may be family, it may be, but it's nothing wrong with that. It's just they maybe haven't manifested it themselves. So they also believe it's not possible, or you need all these things before you achieve it. No, you don't actually. You change yourself and everything comes to you. And I love that. I'm grateful for you, Peggy, because my Florida actually happened thanks to you too.
I love that. Well, I appreciate that, Vladdy. And thank you for sharing. I want to go back to the slides. We're going to talk again. We're going to hear from Vladdy again a little bit later. Vladdy has spoken about a very powerful emotional technique, and that is feeling gratitude. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So thank you, Vladdy. I really appreciate you being here. I want to go back to my slides here, and then we're going to open up for questions. So stick with us. We're going to definitely have plenty of time to deal with your questions as well and take your questions. I know some of them have already been typed in the chat box. Roddy's watching that. He's going to grab them. So no worries there. So emotions are habits. So, really what I want you to understand is, what are your habits of emotions? They're patterns that have been developed over the years. You simply pay attention. You start to notice what you're thinking. You start to notice what you're feeling. And they will be revealed to you when you decide to be aware. Now, the great thing is, and as Vladdy said, in 6 weeks, she made some very positive change. You can make positive change, but the commitment must be there. She obviously made a commitment. But when we think about the change that is being made, it really does come from desire. You have to decide what it is that you want to be experiencing. How would you love to be living your life, and not allowing the old way of being or the old habitual emotional patterns to block you, to stop you. Just think from a place of possibility. What would I absolutely love? And then you have to become that being. So right now, it's important to understand that with awareness, we can see when we are coherent or incoherent with our emotions. Now, incoherent emotions are, like I shared with you earlier, that wildly looking chart that shows the emittance of frequencies of energy, which are negative energies. And then there's coherent energies, which are positive and creative and emotions. And when you're feeling that emotion of gratitude, as Vladdy very kindly shared with you a moment ago, you're in a beautiful energetic state and you are attracting to you good back to you because of how you are feeling. But when you're in any other state that's not positive, an emotional destructive state like worry, which is completely destructive, or fearful, which is another destructive, you got to be aware and then be ready to switch away from those emotions. And then pay attention. Perhaps you have some deeply rooted stuffed emotions that you've put inside or just suppressed down within you, and you're not realizing that they're there. Now, how do you know? Well, you pay attention to how you're feeling. An example of that is people that aren't willing to try new things. Why? They're scared. Maybe they've had an experience in their past that didn't work out so well for them. Maybe they took a risk one time, or maybe they saw someone else take a risk one time and they allowed themselves to create that, made an impression in the subconscious mind, and they created a belief as a result of that. You know, I often will talk about these negative emotions or these bad emotions, these emotions that don't feel good, and people stuff them like in a garbage can, you know, thinking it's just going to go away. Well, they don't go away. And if you keep putting dirty, smelly garbage into a garbage can and you don't take it away, what eventually happens? The lid comes off, right? And it's gross and it's really stinky. So, you know, this morning, it's Friday here in beautiful Ottawa, Ontario. It's garbage day today. So my husband took out the garbage. He took it to the end of our driveway. And probably around 8 a.m. this morning, a truck came along and took it away. Why did that happen? We don't need it. It's of use, no use for us. It's useless. This is what happens with negative emotions of something that's happened to you in the past, whether you've, I don't know, invested in something, it didn't work out, or whether you had a relationship that didn't work out, or whether you had a challenge with somebody that you're still currently involved in and it didn't go the way you want it. Let it go. Let it go. Don't harbor any negative emotion around that. Just let it go. This is why people get involved in reoccurring or continuing to struggle with emotions from past experiences, is that they can get emotionally involved in those experiences. You know, many of you know, and if you don't know, last year I was diagnosed with cancer. Now I'm cured from it. It's gone. It's not in my body anymore. But that was a very interesting experience. Now I'll completely stay away from judgment. So as it was going along and as the diagnosis was coming in and the results were coming in and then the treatment began, it was a very uncomfortable time for me, a non-enjoyable time for sure, a painful experience, one I have no desire to live again or anything like it. But during the entire time, from the moment that I realized that something was a little off in my physical body, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I believe that occurred for me, is that I never, ever, ever said, why me? I never said that. I immediately started to look for the blessings. And I remember my son, Michel, saying to me one time, we're sitting out, and I was sitting out in my backyard and we're on the phone. And he said something like, and this is before we knew the depth of it, where it was, exactly. They were looking for metastasized because they had discovered the cancer in my neck and said that's not where it originated. So they want to know, where did it originate? And then they're looking, is it in her lungs? Is it in her liver? Is it in here? Is it there, etc.? And we didn't have all the information. I remember having a conversation with my son one night, and he said to me, he says, we will beat this thing. And I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like in my mind, it was already done. It was already done. I didn't go to a place of devastation. Now, did I experience some fear? Sure. There were moments for sure, but I recognized what it was. And this is what I want you to understand when it comes to emotions, is that when you have the depth of understanding and you realize how creative emotions can be and how destructive emotions can be, you're going to choose. You choose to give your energy to the emotions that you desire. So if I felt the fear, I would just go straight to a switching strategy, which is one of my favorite strategies. And that is, what would you love? Well, I'd love to have this gone, cured, healed, feeling great again. Perfect. What's that going to feel like? Ah, it feels great. Feels relaxing. Okay, go straight to feeling. Now, I've used that technique on many things. I used that when I purchased a house and I didn't have the money to pay for it. And I felt the fear of, oh, geez, what have I done? You know, I've taken my pen and I bought this house and I've made a legally binding commitment. Of course, the alternative is I could have been sued and thrown out in the street. But I didn't give that any energy. Yeah, that was a possibility, I suppose. But what are you going to give your attention to? What are you going to focus on? You see, I focused on health. Every cell of my body was in perfect harmony with all the good I desire. I'm a perfectly healthy being, vibrantly alive, feeling fantastic, top of the world, baby. People say, how you feeling? Top of the world, top of the world. I'm feeling great, feeling energetic. Now, there were days I wasn't feeling quite like that, when I found myself, dealing with the effects of the treatment, of course, but I never, ever in my mind ever became all consumed in negative energy that will just swirl around and suck you in. But here's the point of that experience. That was an experience. It was in the past. When I talk about it today, it's as if it didn't even happen to me, happened to someone else. I am not emotionally involved in it. I am no longer emotionally involved in that experience. I have separated myself from the experience. Yes, it happened. Yes, I learned a lot. Yes, I found the blessings. Yes, I'm perfectly healthy now. But how many people do that? They go through something that's traumatic in their life, and then they become even more consumed in negative emotion, consumed in fear. People that go through divorce. And you probably know somebody who's gone through maybe what's called a brutal divorce. And then they think, relationships are just painful. They're too difficult. I had that thought after my marriage broke up. I thought, oh my goodness, marriages equal massive pain. Because it was painful. It was painful to go through a divorce. But then I thought, well, how is that going to serve you, Peggy? A little bit of negative, is going to kill. So I realized that, no, that's not going to serve. And I'm going to change the way I'm thinking. And so this is what you must do if you choose to experience something different or unlike what you're experiencing now. Let go of the past. Let it go. Find the blessings, and there's blessings in everything. And it's never too late to have a happy childhood. I now have a happy childhood. Now, years ago, I didn't feel like I had a happy childhood, but I have one now. So you can look at your past experiences as the blessing that they are. Not that you want to recreate those. Certainly don't want to recreate what I went through last year. I got the blessing. Thank you very much. Moving on to even more, wonderful life experiences that I'm choosing. But suppression of energy, and this is why people continue to stay involved in the trauma that they've gone through, and why they don't heal, and why they may go sit on a couch somewhere and talk about it over and over and over again. What are you doing? You're giving it more energy, right? Let it go. Get rid of it. It's in the past. Put the garbage out at the end of the road. It's going to be gone. Now, here's an example that I learned many, many years ago that really helps us understand why we are the way we are. And I actually have a glass of coffee and a glass of water right here in front of me. So I'm going to use these glasses to demonstrate this for you, because this example really made a big difference for me and my understanding. And I think it will for you too, and relevant to what we're going to talk about later about how we can work together. You see, if we look at the glass of coffee, which is in my left hand, this is a mind. This represents a mind that's full of negativity. That's where I was before I met Bob Proctor on that wonderful day in January 1979. Now, if we look at the right-hand side, this glass is a glass of water, and it represents a very clear, clean, positive mind. Someone that's thinking positive all the time. And if I think about the way I was and the way I am today, these are probably good depictions of that. But here's what happens with a lot of people is this. Now I'm going to adjust my screen here so that you'll be able to see this a little bit better as we look at these glasses. So when people start to put the positive into their mind, actually, let me do this better because I still want to be able to see you. So I'm going to get a table and put them on the table. And that's going to make it a lot easier for all of us, or a sort of like a stand that I can put them on. There we go. This is much better. Okay, there we are. So here we have the glasses that represent the negative and the positive. So when I first started studying personal development, I would go to a seminar and I would take some of the good that I would hear from the wonderful speaker on stage and I'd put it into my mind. Attend a seminar and it was wonderful and amazing and life-changing potentially. So I take the good. Now, after that seminar, we were invited, everyone that was in the room was invited to invest in ourselves and attend an event that was going to be run for a series of several weeks, and we could invest in this program. So I decided to invest in myself, signed up for the program, and then I started putting more good into my mind. Going to the seminars, they were live seminars before the internet, live seminars. And I was also buying the books and buying the audio cassettes, and I'd be listening to them in my car and I'd be reading the books. So I'm putting more good in. Now we've just witnessed, you've seen me take 3 spoons of coffee and put it into this glass. Do you notice any change? No, there's no change. You don't see any change. But did I put the water in there? Yes, I put the water in there. Why aren't we seeing a change? Why don't I see a change in here? This is what a lot of people do, is they get into personal development and they start putting the good in, they put the good in, and they don't see any change. So then what happens? Yeah, you're right, Shanice. Too much of the old stuff's there. The paradigms are so strong, they're overpowering, right? And if you consistently, even though you're putting the good in, if your intensity of your emotions are stronger in the negative than they are in the positive, this will stay dark. The negative is going to override the positive. It will take over. And so you have to keep putting it in and putting it in and putting it in and putting it in until what will happen? If I keep putting the good in and keep putting the good in, and I'm operating in a way that's in harmony with what I desire, what's going to happen to this glass? It's going to become clear, right? It's going to become clear. Well, look at this. And this really speaks true to what we were talking about earlier. And what did I say? It only takes a little bit of poison to kill. I'm going to take 1 spoon of coffee and I'm going to put it in this glass. Do you see the change? Yes, instantly. You instantly see the change. Yeah, you instantly see the change. And so this is why, as I said earlier, it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. Now, what you have to be aware of, and this is another reason for the struggle, is people have the desire to experience the better results. And they sign up for the seminars, or they watch the videos, or they attend the classes, and they start to do the things that they know will move them in the right direction. But then the old paradigm kicks in, and it will. Those paradigms, the moment you decide, bam, I'm going to change my life. I am going to go for it. I'm going to do the things that I really want to do, that I finally decided I'm making it happen. The old paradigms are going to try and pull you back. It almost feels like, I have a rope here I used to use at my seminars. It almost feels like you have this invisible rope. And if you think about it, within you, it's pulling you forward with the positive thoughts and then pulling you backward, pulling you forward, pulling you backward. It's a tug of war. It's a tug of war that goes on. You got to let go of the negative. You got to let it go because it is not going to serve you. So, if we think about, these PhD scientists are all saying that 90% of humans are suppressing old negative emotions, like, holy smokes, that's pretty serious. You want to let that go. You want to get really good at letting those emotions go and only giving your attention on the positive. Like, this is a life-altering moment that we're talking about here, truly life-altering. You want to be choosing right now, this very moment, to only focus on things that are going to serve you, thoughts and feelings that are going to serve you. So the thoughts send the message out to the universe. Yes, I think I'd like that. Yes, I think I would love to improve my life. Yes, I believe I'd like to change my financial situation. And they're great thoughts, all wonderful thoughts. They're thoughts that are energy in motion. But you know what attracts it back to you? Do you know what attracts it back to you? Your feelings. Your feelings. This is the magnetic force. This is what you're drawing into your life, is based on how you are feeling, based on how you're feeling. You want to master your emotions. You want to master your emotions so that you can attract only the things and experiences in your life that are desirable to you and for you. And that takes mastery. And mastery takes time. It takes a commitment. It takes an investment. But when you do, you're going to find that your life will change. You know, yesterday I was thinking about Marie Forleo, who's a lovely young woman that I was blessed to work with. She had taken my program a number of years ago. And I remember I was in New York City for meetings, and she knew I was there, and she contacted me and said, would I be willing to meet with her? And I said, sure, come to my hotel. There was a lounge there, and, you know, we could meet in the hotel. And I remember sitting with her in the lounge of the hotel, and she told me what she wanted. And I said, well, do it. She wanted to build a business. She wanted to coach women. I said, then do it. And she said, well, I feel so young. And I said, what does that have to do with anything? You see, that was a paradigm that she had. She felt that she looked young as well. And later she told me she ended up getting photos done. She had a photo shoot where she mocked up her image to make her look older. Most people are mocking up their images to get rid of their wrinkles, right? To have themselves look younger. And she told me that once she started working with women, she felt scared at first. And she would have this little dialogue going on in her mind. Who am I? Who am I to be coaching these women? Who are you not to be? You've got a desire. Don't worry about the how. That's what Bob Proctor taught me. The greatest lesson Bob taught me was you do not have to know how you're going to get to where you want to go. You have to decide, absolutely. You have to commit to it, definitely. You have to invest in yourself. You have to do the time, put the effort in, but you'll get there. And you're not alone, because you're working in harmony with these laws of the universe. You're working with a super consciousness of the universe. And that's why we as humans are magnetic beings. We will attract to us. As Bob used to say, everything requisite for the fulfillment of your desire, you will attract it into your life. And there's no more effort to attract it, depending on how big the goal may be or how small the goal may be. It's neither big nor small. Only thinking makes it so. It's the paradigms that cause you to think that goal is too big. So when I ask people, what would you love to earn? It's fascinating to see the answers. And we see a wide variety of answers. You know, we'll see answers from someone saying they want to earn 100,000 a year to someone saying they want to earn 250,000 a year, or somebody who says, I want to earn $1 million a year, or I want to earn 10 million, or somebody who says $1 billion, or even more, $1 trillion. It doesn't matter. The truth is every single one of you have the ability to do it, to attract it, especially now. You know, I believe now is the perfect time. I mean, anybody can put up their flag on the internet and create a presence and start selling right away. And people are doing it of all ages. Kids are earning millions of dollars online. Elderly, very elderly people are earning millions of dollars online, and everything in between. And you know, the ones that are doing it, they decided that they're going to do it. They made a decision. It doesn't mean you're not going to be feeling fear. I was thinking about Marie because I was thinking about how wildly successful she's become and all the things that she's done. I feel so grateful for her success because she followed through despite the feeling of fear, in spite of the paradigms that were trying to hold her back, because those paradigms are going to try and pull you back. They will, but you must override those paradigms. You've got to be stronger than those paradigms. And you must keep putting in the good and putting in the good and making sure that you're not allowing any negative energy into your consciousness because it's a destroyer. Bob Proctor quoted Vernon Howard when I met him in January 1979, and he said, "You can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one." I think about people that are struggling today. It doesn't have to be that way. People that are living paycheck to paycheck, people that are all consumed in debt, people that keep repeating the same old patterns. Not a judgment, it's just the way it is. And the truth is, anyone can create a financial empire. We can show you how. We can show you an MSI entrepreneur how you can create an extraordinary life where you're not in a prison. And frankly, these prisons, if you will, are prisons of your own making. So when Bob quoted Vernon Howard and he said, "You can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one," I realized I put myself in there. I put myself in this prison. It's like Bob used to ask people, "What's the most amount of money that you've ever earned a year?" And he said, "I didn't ask people that because I was nosy." He said, "I asked people that because I wanted to know what they think they're worth." You're earning the amount of money that you think you're worth. Now, if you have a desire to earn more, you've got to change your thinking. You've got to change your feeling. That's how you change it. You got to believe that you're worthy of that which you desire. That's a big part of a paradigm that a lot of people have, is a believing of unworthiness. But you're worthy of having anything and everything that you desire. You do deserve to have success, but you've got to get out of your own way. That's what you must do. You must get out of your own way. And we want to show you the way, because you are the challenge, hesitant to use the word problem, but you're also the solution. And I want to help you break free from anything, any idea, any emotion that's been holding you back from experiencing what you so rightly deserve. Every single one of you. Now's the time. Now's the time to make the change in your life. Now's the time to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. No more struggle. You don't have to struggle anymore. You can be experiencing a wealthy, abundant, peaceful, joyful, love-filled life. And you can start today. So hiding is not the answer. Most people put on what they call a brave face, but underneath they're all consumed in fear. And they may show the world that their life is perfect when it really isn't. This is something that I see a lot online with people that are out there, putting on this persona. And then, you hear from them behind the scenes, or somebody that I know, and you realize it's not so beautiful, but it's possible. They're pretending while they're suppressing. That doesn't work. Putting our head in the sand doesn't work. We've got to be willing to be aware and non-judgmental. This does not involve judging, because judging is a negative emotion. Judging means that you're going to feel bad. It is what it is. Whatever's happened in your life up to this point is happening in your life. Let it go. It is what it is. Do not be judgmental. Now, earlier when I mentioned to you about the experience that I went through last year, the health experience that I went through, I also discovered that 90% of illness is directly connected to stress. And my husband and I, about 3 years ago, had purchased a beautiful multi-million-dollar home that we didn't realize that had a lot of interesting challenges. And once we moved in, that's when stuff started to fall apart. And it was a very interesting time. It was the same year that we moved in there that our cottage was flooded. We had to use a canoe to get to it. You couldn't drive anywhere near it. Had to use hip waders if you wanted to walk over there. And all these major things in this brand new multi-million-dollar house that we took possession of, started to fall apart. My husband was not pleased, and he was stressed. I was feeling the stress. It was like every day we were discovering something else that was going wrong or wrong with the experience. And it was a part of my life. I mean, one part of my life that we're just dealing with, we're managing and we're fixing all the things that were going wrong with the house. But I believe that's what contributed to my health challenge, is the stress that I felt at that time. So an awareness, right? An understanding. So if you're feeling stressed now, understand it is not serving you. What's the opposite of stress? Being relaxed. What can you do to be more relaxed, regardless of what's going on in your life? You must understand this. You are in control of how you feel, always, in all ways. I would suggest you write that down. You're in control of how you feel always in all ways. You can choose stress. You can choose to be relaxed. You can choose. We can choose to feel happy. We can choose to feel sad. We can choose to feel fear. We can choose to feel faith. We can choose to feel lack. We can choose to feel abundant. We're always at choice. And yes, it is like a game we are playing. But the source of all these positive emotions is absolutely within you. It's not within someone else. It's within you. And nobody and nothing outside you causes you to feel anything. Now, that may be a revelation for some people, and I want you to know how true that is. Nobody and nothing outside of you causes you to feel anything. Take responsibility for your emotion. If you've allowed circumstances, employers, your financial situation, family members, spouses, partners, whatever, if you are allowing them to impact you emotional, that's on you. Okay? It's on you. Nobody causes you to feel happy. Nobody causes you to feel sad. You're choosing it. Now, if somebody said something to you that wasn't true, why in the world would you get upset if it's not true? You wouldn't. That's not true. Why would you get upset at them? It's not true. You let it go. So the source of all emotion means good emotion too, positive emotion. If you're feeling happy, it's because you thought happy thoughts. You felt happy emotions. If you're feeling faith and a sense of certainty that you're manifesting what you desire, it's because you chose that. You chose it. Now, if you're not currently in the habit of feeling these emotions, we can help you. You can join us. You can join us in our programs. Skipping Levels, as an example, is a program for those that are serious about making positive change in their life. And we'll give you the guidance for doing just that, because the ability is within you. And what I do is I help people uncover or discover that power that's already within you, because somebody helped me discover and uncover it for me so that I could change my life. And now I'm here to help others do the same. James Allen was known to have said, people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Now, you have a choice right now as to what you're going to do after we shut down the Zoom room. We still have some time together. We're going to be taking some questions, etc. But if you don't make a change, if you don't make a choice to do something about your life right now, not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with you or wrong with your life, but everything changes. Everything changes in life. And I believe we should be choosing to be on the positive side of the change. So what does that mean? You improve yourself. When you improve yourself, you improve everything in your life. You know, I was watching a documentary the other day, and there was a scene in this documentary, and it was highlighting Neil Donald Walsh, who is a wonderful person. I was blessed to work with him. He wrote the foreword for my book, Your Destiny Switch, and he wrote a beautiful foreword for that book. As a matter of fact, in the foreword, Neil Donald Walsh said, "This may be the most important book you have ever read. I'm grateful to Peggy McColl for having written it." He wrote that in the foreword, and I said to Hay House, put that on the cover of the book because it was so important. But Neil Donald Walsh was telling a story about an elderly woman whose husband was on his deathbed, and he was dying. He knew he was dying. She knew he was dying. And she said, her husband said to her, you know, I want to tell you something. And it was like his last words. I want you to lean in, and I have something to tell you. And she leaned in, and he said to her, tomorrow morning, when you wake up, understand that you have everything that you need. Everything. Every one of you has everything that you need. I want you to know that. I want you to understand that. I want you to believe it. You may not be experiencing what you desire in your life right now, but you've got the ability to. You have the power to. It's within you now. I I remember when I started studying Louise Hay somewhere around 1985, and she said those words, "You've got the power within you to change your life." Now, Louise's work started when she was working with cancer patients and AIDS patients. That's really what she started working on. Holistic healing was the topic or the subject area that she was focused on. And the reason why I started to study with Louise is because my father had been diagnosed with cancer, and the doctors gave him a 50-50 chance. So I said, 50 chance sounds good to me. Let's go. Let's find a way of healing your life. And that's what her work was, heal your life. And he did heal himself from cancer. He did live another 20 years beyond that point. And he ended up ultimately dying of a stroke. But he healed himself of cancer. But I remember when I heard that, the first time I heard, everything you need is within you now. And it's such a powerful understanding. And it relates to what we're talking about here, mastery. You have everything within you to master your life, to master your emotions, to attract anything and everything that you simply decide. And when you get to know that and you start utilizing that power, you tap into that power and you're going to be amazed at what you can manifest in your life. You'll be amazed, because the biggest benefit for you accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself, especially those that stretch you, is not the goal. It's not that you're going to have that. It's who you become in the process. But you were already that person. The Peggy McColl that's sitting here today is not a different DNA from the Peggy McColl that went to the seminar in January 1979. We're the same person, but thinking and feeling completely different. Very, very different from the way that I was. Very different from the way that I was. That only occurred because of the commitment, because of the discipline, because of the implementation of these ideas, because of the depth of understanding. Bob Proctor used to say, no amount of reading or going to seminars or watching the videos is going to do anything for you, unless and until you understand and apply. But the most important part is the application. You don't even have to understand it. There's a whole bunch of unconscious, competent people out there in the world. There are people out there that are actually creating success and don't even know why they're creating success. And can you imagine once they discover how or why they're creating success, how much better it could be? But what we're looking to do at Dynamic Destinies is create a whole bunch of conscious competence. And I believe it's being in this business that can do it. It really is, because what you do for another, you do for yourself. What you give to another, you give to yourself. When Bob and I were on our way to the ballroom in May 2014 to deliver a seminar, and we were walking toward that ballroom, I'm in high heels because I'm wearing a suit. He's in his suit as well. He's walking at a rather rapid pace. And I said, Bob, what's the hurry? Because I was having a tough time keeping up with him. I was an energetic man. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about my high heels. And he said, I'll apologize. And he slowed down a little bit. And I said, what's the hurry? And he said, I'm excited. And I said, excited about what? He said, the seminar. I said, you're giving it. He's the speaker. And I was going to be doing 3 of the chapters of The Science of Getting Rich. He was doing the rest. He was doing the bulk of the work. And I said, you're the speaker. And he goes, I know. But as I share it, I'm hearing it. As I'm sharing in these ideas, it's coming right back. It's getting reinforced into my subconscious mind through repetition. And if any of you ever had the wonderful blessing of seeing Bob Proctor or watching him in video, what you'll see is somebody who's very, very passionate, was very passionate about the materials. He had conviction. Why? Because it changed his life. It changed millions of people's lives. It changed my life. Why did Bob invite me on stage at his events? Why did he invite me to speak at his highest paying event, the 1% Club? Because I was a serious student, understood and applied. And he knew that. He knew I was someone who was willing to invest in myself and would take the action. And that's where the rewards are. It really is where the rewards are. There's no limit to what you can create. There's no limit to what you can earn. There's no limit to what you can do, be, and experience, except those within the realms of nature. But if there's something that you desire and you would love to be experiencing that time and money freedom, which is rightfully yours, we can show you how to get there. We can show you how to do that. Now, what I'm going to do before we go to questions is I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas of how we can serve you in the many ways that we can serve you. And then I'm going to open up for some questions here. Now, I just noticed I do have a few more slides. I'm going to come back to them a little bit later. But we did something, we have a number of different programs at Dynamic Destinies, and you can find them all by going to PeggyMcColl.com. There's many different ways that we can serve you. And I know sometimes people say, well, which one do I choose? Do I join Skipping Levels? You mentioned Skipping Levels. Do I become a Destiny Coach? Do I join MSI Entrepreneur? Do I sign up for your Club Achieve? We have some people that are here in the room with us right now that are in all of them. Connie and Alan, they're in everything that we do. Now, actually, we didn't plan this, but if they're okay with this, and I'm going to add them to the spotlight. We did not plan this. Connie and Alan, you are now in the spotlight. I would like to ask you a question if you're willing to share. As I said, this was not planned. We didn't do this, but Connie and Alan are very serious students, and they're here to serve. I believe they're here to serve the world. And so I want to ask you guys, and we can have ladies first, what was it that caused you to invest in all of the programs? What was it?
It's very simple, and it's one word. It's Peggy. And it's because we have heard you speak. We've attended prior to signing up for any courses, anything and everything that you were doing online, we were attending. We also have a mutual friend, which was a blessing, and spoke so highly of you and so much about how it had helped her to work with you. Mm-hmm. And we got the opportunity to sign up for, the first thing was the Power Life script. Mm-hmm. Made such a difference. Nice. And then one of my favorite programs that you've kind of brought into MSI was the old Million in a Month. Mm, and that one was phenomenal. And we just kept going, and we just kept going, and we bought into more programs and bought more programs with you to continue to work with you. And as you evolve your programs, we've been evolving with you because we feel the benefit. We know the benefit that we're getting. And even if it's sometimes just listening to a Power Life script that you helped us to write through your teachings and getting a good night's sleep, mm-hmm. and waking up in a positive, refreshed mood the next day when it feels like maybe the world was crashing down yesterday. That is, even that small little thing is incredibly significant. And we have never had this from anyone other than you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I love that. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Connie. I really appreciate you sharing from your heart. I feel that's so sincere. And, one of the things that I really love and appreciate about Connie and Alan is their heart, their emotion, and how they really love, sort of soaking up the materials and applying them and helping others. I mean, that's really what you're doing, right? Is like yesterday you shared that ebook that you created, Connie, that you're bringing out to the world, the programs that you have, the coaching. They're both Destiny coaches, by the way. They coach from my materials. You've been helping people through the money marathon, mm-hmm. as an example. And Alan, if you don't mind sharing with us, one of the things that Alan has been doing, which has just been incredible and beautiful, is that with your Power Life script, you've been reprogramming your subconscious mind at night. Yes. So tell us why you decided to do that and how that's positively impacting you.
Well, I was back, one of the programs that I watched was Bob's, and then obviously yours, and you talking about listening to your Power Life script in the evening, and that your subconscious absorbs a lot more when you're just about to drift off to sleep. And then I discovered through a mutual friend these headband, Bluetooth headband, one of those things, the Bluetooth headband. So I started listening to my Power Life script and other scripts. You have several of them that you've offered on your different programs for people, the evening ones. started listening to those, and they do have a powerful impact on your subconscious mind. So you wake up feeling a lot better, a lot more in tune with the world. And all of this information is so good. I don't regret that I wished I would have discovered it sooner, because we live in the same city and I never heard of you like 20 years ago. So sometimes,
Badass.
yeah, sometimes I wish it would have been sooner, but it is what it is.
Exactly. But it's like, it's not too late, right? Like
No,
it's like
no,
a
no,
great
no.
time to change your
No, we're very
subconscious
close.
mind.
Oh, we're very happy to have found
Oh,
you and
yeah.
all the stuff that you have. And it was very
And it doesn't matter where somebody is in their life.
no.
When you see a person like Peggy presenting to you and the things that are possible, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. You're always at the right time in your life when you start something like this.
Yeah, I love it. That's beautiful. Well, I really appreciate you both. And thank you for allowing me to put you on the spot like that. It was very kind of you, but it also speaks to your kind heart and willing to share. So thank you both. I really appreciate you. All right. Thank you so much. You know, what's fascinating is that I was, listening to Alan and Connie, of course, as well. And I just glanced up and I saw Michelle and Jay. And it's interesting because I looked up and I saw them and I love them. I love they've got their daughter involved in the business as well. They're in our MSI entrepreneur program that we're doing. And I'll talk to you guys about that in a minute. And I was just thinking, I wonder if they would share, because I remember last time Michelle was very kind and was willing to share, and she can tell me if she is again, before I put her on the spot. Yeah, she's going like, why not? Why not? And as I was, having that thought, Vladdy sent me a private message saying that she intuitively felt the idea of inviting Michelle and Jay into the spotlight. So now you two are very serious students as well. And it's kind of fun that this isn't intentional that we're bringing in two couples, but, and it's not actually common that couples do the programs together, but we do have two couples that are in our program right now. And I know that Michelle, for you've gone through a lot in your life as well, from health challenges but you're at a point where you've made a decision that you're going to live the life that you love, right? And love the life that you live as well. And you're at a point where you're investing in yourself to up-level the world, right? Like bring your work as a symbologist and Dr. Ensman's work as well that impacted you in a very positive way, as well as, the brilliance of what you guys are doing together to the world. But what inspired you to say yes to that, to move on that idea and to do something about it? What was it?
Are you talking move in terms of taking your classes or what we actually doing in life?
No, like what inspired you to make the decision to step into this, to bring your passion to the world?
Well, it actually came, I consider it quite a strong divine intervention, if I can use that phrase.
Perfect.
Because after 40 years of teaching art, which is a passion, and being very physical, dancing, doing martial arts, and doing all the things that I loved, I found myself in a wheelchair, which makes all of that very difficult. So I'm thinking, okay, so that's not the divine intervention. The part that I'm talking about is that I looked for something else. I did not accept the diagnosis, which means that right now I would probably be laying in bed, not being able to function. I didn't.
Which was wrong, by the way.
Though the diagnosis was
exactly
wrong. So, but see, I got spoken to, and I said, so what am I going to do with the rest of my life if I leave all of these things that I've been doing for decades? And so Jay was reading the Da Vinci Code to me, and it may seem like a random thing, but it wasn't. And it wasn't even the story that was so fascinating. It was the main character. I said, Robert Langdon is a symbologist? You mean there's such a thing as a symbologist? I must do that. So we had met the Ensmans in the 80s and knew that we would be involved with them on whatever level, because the brains of those two people are just rare. So we had been already involved with them for a long time, but becoming a symbologist was absolutely a divine intervention. And so it took me 20 years. Here I am walking again, and I've, buying a horse and doing things that I've always wanted to do. But then, I think we did some unconscious, is that what you think? Unconscious competent, I can't even say the words, things. But I began to realize that when we founded this nonprofit to publish the life's work of Dr. Ensman, we needed something that we didn't know how we were going to do this. It's like, okay, we don't know how to do this. So I got involved with Procter Gallagher Institute, but through them I met you, and it was a good match. So that's a basic run through of what happened, but
I love it.
he's got something to say too.
Peggy, we met in the multiple source income entrepreneurs class, and I've been madly taking notes
Wow.
on the program, and I'm applying it to our small publishing business.
Love it.
And I'm so excited because unless they're going through what we're going through in terms of your teaching, it's hard for them to understand what I'm so excited about. But because I have a roadmap, and it's something, as a production manager, I produce things, but they don't do anything. The books sit on the shelves unless we market them. And so we're very grateful for having the opportunity to learn from you. You're maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 miles away, and yet I'm sitting on my living room couch. It doesn't get any better than that. And we appreciate you, and we're excited about where we're ending up.
Love it. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you both. I love that you're following your heart and doing such meaningful work. And I know it's going to make a big difference in the world, a positive difference. So thank you. Thank you for being willing to share. All right. There, while they were sharing, oops, I'm making them co-hosts now. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. While they were sharing, I was thinking about yesterday, we have a lovely woman named Rose who had just joined the program. She had met with Vladdy and had decided that MSI Entrepreneur was the program for her. And I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment, what it is. And so she came and joined in on the program. And right now, we've already delivered 11 classes. And anyone can join at any point. We're gonna start it again, but you can join now and then get into the next class as well, which includes calls with me almost weekly and feedback and Q&A calls, etc. And so Rose attended her first class yesterday. She sent this email, and I just opened my email so I could bring it up to show you. And she said this, and this was, we didn't ask her for feedback or whatever, but she sent this. She said, I absolutely loved the live class today and can't wait for the next one. I'm so happy and grateful to be part of such an informative and success community. I love the energy, and I hope to bring more positive light to the group. And that's one of the blessings, when you see people like Connie and Alan and Jay and Michelle, and we have many others, that are here, that are in our other programs. I see Heidi that's on the call. I saw Sherry, who was on the call earlier. And that's one of the blessings, benefits, the word benefit and blessing, we're trying to come out of my mouth at the same time, to being in the programs is just, who else you're hanging out with, right? Like you're like-minded individuals. So MSI Entrepreneur is a program for anyone that wants to make a positive contribution to the world and have an unlimited earnings. That's the prerequisite. And that's pretty much it. Don't have to have any experience with marketing online. Don't have to have a program already online. It's msientrepreneur.com. We are running the program live. We did start it a number of weeks ago, but you can get in now and we'll just put you in the next class as well. And so you'll still be able to continue on beyond this class to have extra time with me. But something we did recently is we have a division in our organization, and I saw some of our Destiny coaches who were on the call. Of course, Connie and Alan are Destiny coaches as well. I saw Barbara that was on here earlier. I think One Me was on the call as well. We usually invite our Destiny coaches to come on the call so that they can, also see some of the things that we're doing. And that Paul's here, I see as well. So wonderful. NECA is here. I'm just scanning the list of our wonderful attendees that are here with us. I think I saw Mena on earlier as well. And anyways, what we did was we're doing something really special, and I'll just share my screen with you for a moment. For a limited period of time, we're actually going to blend our Destiny Coach program with MSI Entrepreneur. And the reason why we're doing that is that Destiny Coach is a place to come and get certified by me as a coach. And you'll learn how to set up your coaching business, how to run your coaching business, and you can use one of my 2 programs to coach from. And the 2 programs are the Destiny Key program, that's what our Destiny coaches coach from, or the Money Marathon. But what we decided to do, and there's a page here that I know Roddy is putting the links there for you to find out. This is more about the program and what's involved, but we decided to blend in our MSI program, which is how to create multiple sources of income, with our Destiny Coach offer. And we're throwing in skipping levels. So it's kind of like a combination program of the most high-end valuable programs that we have. So for anyone that's been interested, yes, you can take MSI Entrepreneur on its own. Yes, you can take skipping levels on your own, and some people do. We created an offer where we put them all into one for those that do have decided that they want to be in this business. Because I really feel being in this business is the greatest blessing ever. I may invest a lot of hours in doing what I'm doing, but I never feel like I'm working hard. I love it. It's just so empowering and invigorating and inspiring. And I'll finish my work for the day and just feel like on top of the world. But the biggest benefit, I think, is the difference you make. And by seeing the results that you can make with others and serving people that are out there serving others in positive ways. Like I remember when Robin Sharma, who is the author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, came to me and wanted me to help him with promoting his book, which led to Marianne Williamson asking me, and Wayne Dyer and Debbie Ford and Neil Donald Walsh and all these wonderful, Marcy Shimoff, all these incredible people that were very well known in the industry wanted my help. And I remember thinking, at first thinking, well, that's not something that I do. It's not something that I'm currently offering. But then I remembered and really came back to the whole purpose of why I'm here, why I'm on this planet. And I believe my purpose is to make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of others. And so if that's my purpose, I want to help others make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of others. And what's wonderful about the work that we do, and that when we work with our clients, is there's no limit. It's not like you take a job and your income is $72,000 a year. There's no limit to what you can earn. You could earn 72,000, you could earn 720,000, you could earn 5.5 million if you want. And I've had many clients that have earned into the millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. And it's not that money is the outcome. Really, why people want money is because of what it brings to them in their life, the freedom that they have. And in all sincerity, I don't have to work anymore. I don't. I could retire if I wanted to, but I have no desire to retire. Absolutely zero. I love what I do completely. And I love it because this is my purpose. This is why I'm here. And, it's like Bob used to say, I will do this till the day I die. And he did. I mean, he was working almost right up until, the day that he left this earthly plane, and his work still carries on. And that's another blessing of MSI Entrepreneur. It's another blessing of, the work that our clients are doing, is that their work will live on. I'm an author of 20 books so far. And I say so far because I'll probably do another one. And, I've got programs that are online, and they'll very likely be here long after I've perished from this earthly plane as well. So it's a wonderful way of leaving a legacy. It's a wonderful way of positively impacting others. It's a wonderful way of earning unlimited income. It's a wonderful way of feeling a great sense of fulfillment. It's a wonderful way of creating an extraordinary life for you and your family, as Vladdy shared with us earlier. You know, when she sat with me in our backyard when she was visiting here a few months ago and said that her intention is to take her family on this incredible trip. You know, that's something she wanted to do in the future. I said, do it now. Like, what are you waiting for, right? Like, do it now. Make the decision and go for it now. And she did. And she made that decision, and she did it long before she ever thought that she could. You see, there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that you can create. And, you know, if there's something about what you're hearing here today and you're feeling called to investigate a little further, check it out. Check out our programs. Book a meeting with Vladdy. Vladdy's very happy to meet with you. You know, we call them discovery calls. And, you know, we want to make sure that you're the right fit for us too. It's not just anyone that comes into our programs. We're looking for people that have a desire to make a positive difference. It's not about money grab. It's not about that. It's not about, you know, greed. None of it is. We don't operate that way. That's not our style. And energetically, we don't attract that into our life. We attract genuine clients. We attract loving people. We have people that are difference makers. And they recognize that there's so much more that they can be doing or experiencing in their life. So if that's you, awesome. You're very likely a good fit for working with us, and we'd love to work with you. So what I did promise is that I would address some questions. So the links, Roddy's been putting the links in the right-hand side for you to, oh, he gave me a link too. Thank you, Roddy. A link with all the questions from today. Aren't you amazing? Thank you. All right. So we have a bunch of questions. Oh, wow. Lots of questions that have already come in. So I'm going to go to those now. Now, even if you don't have a question, stay with us, because you're going to benefit from the answers to these questions, because you may not have had that question, but you'll likely benefit from the answer to the question. Roddy also posted the link to book an appointment with Vladdy if that's something you'd like to do. And also on the replay page of this video, there'll be links for all of our programs, as well as right below the video is a link to book an appointment with Vladdy. And she's opening up her calendar. She's got lots of availability. She's not vacationing next week. Or are you even working on the weekend, Vladdy? Are you taking calls on? Oh, she's amazing. This girl, she loves what she does so much. And I love her spirit and how she's here to serve. As you can see, Vladdy has a depth of understanding of these materials because she's a serious student. And so you're in good hands with Vladdy. Okay, so Roddy has sent me the questions. Let's go to the first one. It's from Mara. And the question is, I have a power life script, which is amazing. I am a creative person, yet somehow I struggle with visioneering. Should I refer back to the videos that came with the course? I am totally visual person, so it makes no sense. And I know how important it is, yet it eludes me. Thank you. Okay. First thing I would suggest, and this is for Mara and for anyone else who may relate to that type of question, and that is, don't struggle. Do not choose to struggle. It may sound overly simplistic, but there is a choice in whether you're going to struggle or not. Allow yourself to visualize. The fact that you said you're a visual person is a bonus. So what would you be seeing were you to be living that incredible life? And so in that way, you create a statement or part of your statement where you see yourself experiencing that. So Mara has said she's a visual person. I'm more of an auditory person, and I love listening. I'm very much a listener. And, you know, people that are auditory will say things like, I like the sound of that, or sounds good to me. Those are auditory person. Visual people will say, looks good to me, or I see what you're saying, right? They're visual and they're seeing it. So I'm an auditory person, but I can definitely create visuals. I have a vision board. It's right over there beside me. But also in my Power Life script, I create scenarios, scenes that I'm actually seeing. So when I'm listening to my Power Life script, where I'm talking about how I'm, you know, out for a sunset boat ride with my husband, you know, at our waterfront property on the lake, I'm there, right? I'm seeing it in my imagination because I've created or scripted the vision of that. So just think to yourself, allow it to be easy. Just get out of your own way. Don't say it's going to be struggle or it's elusive. It's done. What would I be seeing were I to experience this in my life? Financial one is a great one as well. Like, what would you be seeing were you already a multimillionaire? Would you be seeing your investment statements that show incredible double-digit returns? Would you be seeing your bank accounts filled with results? Or if you're an entrepreneur and you're in sales, and let's say you use a merchant account, would you be seeing your PayPal balance, go up, 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 up? Would you be seeing your merchant account be filled in with, sales? What would you be seeing? Those are the things that you want to describe. And that the answer is for you, what would you be seeing were you to be experiencing these things in your life? And then write that out. Because as you're listening to your Power Life script, you will be seeing it in your mind's eye. So when I'm describing in my Power Life script our waterfront property as an example, I'm talking about us sitting on the deck, when my husband's having a glass of wine as the sun's setting, or I'll talk about how our sexy boat, and I call it the sexy boat. My husband makes fun of me sometimes because I'm always calling our boat sexy. And it's not the one that's in the garage. We do have a fishing boat now. I don't find that one sexy, but in my mind, I see our very sexy boat that's sitting at the dock. And of course, we take our friends and our family out there. I talk about the hammock that's, hung up between the two trees. And it's a really wonderful, soft double hammock where I sit there and I study. I talk about sitting by the outdoor fire pit and listening to the sound of the loons. And so that's all experience, right? You're having the experience of seeing it and feeling it and knowing that you're in the scene of that outcome. Okay, Mara? So I hope that helps. Let's go to our next question here. It is from Heidi. When using the switching technique, which I'm really getting good at, it feels like I'm suppressing my emotions. I had a very challenging experience yesterday and I had a hard time switching. And then when I did, it felt like I was stuffing my feelings down. How do I switch without suppressing emotions? Brilliant question, Heidi. Thank you so much for asking. All right, here's what you do. And that's such a good question because I'm certain that a lot of people are doing the same thing. They're switching, but they're not dealing with the emotion that revealed its ugly head, if you will. So here's what you do. The emotion comes up. Let's say it's fear, or it's anger, it's something like that. What you do in order to not suppress it is to become aware that it's there. And what you can do is what my good friend Gay Hendricks would say is wrap your loving arms around it and send it on its way, like you would with your child, like your daughter who went off to college. Right, Heidi? You love her, let her go. It's part of you, let it go. Just let it go. Say thank you. You can feel gratitude. Thank you for revealing to me what was there, what was under the surface there. Thank you for the revealing. You no longer serve me. I'm sending you on your way. And off it goes. Off it goes, and just let it go, right? That's how you deal with it so that you don't suppress it. It's called welcoming. We teach it in Skipping Levels, by the way. The next question that Heidi has is, I have a good friend that's going through an extremely difficult and scary health diagnosis. I was trying to help her with what I've learned from Peggy and tried to gently say somehow this was attracted into her life and she can control the outcome. She immediately shut me down and said, I don't believe that because what about babies and animals that have cancer? Are you telling me that they attracted that into their life? I don't know what to say and was wondering what Peggy's take on it is. Yeah, that is another, like Heidi, you're asking like kick butt questions today. We may attract things into our life, but quite often it's without awareness. And how we attract it, I don't know. How do babies attract sickness? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. Why do bad things happen to good people? I don't know. Did they attract it into their life? Some people would say yes, that they attract everything into their life. I would say, maybe, but it's not conscious. It's not like I said, hey, I want to get sick or I want to have this horrific experience into my life. So I don't get all caught up in the experience of trying to figure out, how or why, because it doesn't serve me. It simply doesn't serve me. Like when I got sick last year and I was diagnosed with cancer, You know, I had people ask me, why you? I was like, I don't know. But I wasn't emotionally involved in it. I wasn't like, oh, poor me. I don't know why I attracted that in my life. I wasn't in that state. I wasn't boo-hoo, poor me, like how awful and not the right time or whatever. And I didn't go there. Why? Because it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve me. So whether you're attracted or you don't attract it, let it go, right? I think it's valuable to understand, like we talked about today, how we do attract things into our life, and we can have the awareness around that. But do we have the answer for everything? Do we need to have everything figured out? No. And I don't have everything figured out. I don't know anybody that has everything figured out. So we just let it go, right? We just let it go and we choose to feel good. Now, if your friend who is dealing with this diagnosis would like some help, then yeah, you know, she needs to choose to be healthy. She needs to choose to be in love with life and in love with her life. And what I would suggest, and this is what I did, is listen to her Power Life script. Like I listened to my Power Life script over and over and over and over again. I mean, I was saturating my mind while I was laying in a hospital bed. And even though, you know, at the time, you know, I was really sick, you know, by medical standards, my mind wasn't. My mind wasn't really sick. My body was, but my mind wasn't. My mind was in a very healthy state. And that's all I chose to experience. It's like when Michelle shared with us earlier, she was given a diagnosis, and as Jay shared, it was wrong. It was a wrong diagnosis. You know, as Jay shared that, I was thinking about how many people are given diagnoses that are wrong, but they believe it. And we've heard the stories about the doctor that goes into the room where there's two patients and picks up the chart and says to the guy, oh, I'm sorry, you know, you're not going to make it. And then, you know, walks out and the guy dies and realizes that was the wrong chart. That wasn't his prognosis at all. It was the other patient's prognosis. But what happened was that patient got all consumed in the belief. They believed it. And what happened? They experienced what they thought to be true. And that's why the words don't have to hurt you. I was thinking about this before we started our call today. This is such a great story. And I think you'll really appreciate this for two reasons. I read a book a number of years ago. And what's interesting is I was walking to my office today, you know, getting ready for our time together here. And I was thinking about this story, and I glanced at my bookshelf in my office. I have a couple other bookshelves downstairs, but I glanced at my bookshelf here because I wanted to see if that book was on my bookshelf, and it's not, it's downstairs. But here's the story. And I read this book, I don't know, 20 years ago. So I'm going to share with you what my understanding is from the story. It's not verbatim. It may not be exactly how the story went, but you'll get the point. Okay, so there's this guy who had a desire to radically improve his life. And he heard about a guru who had like the secrets to success. And he decided he was going to work with this guru, and it invested the money, a significant amount of money, to go to this guru's home to find out, you know, what the secret to success is. And so he shows up at the guy's home, and the butler or one of his servants lets him in, and he's going to be you know, staying with him. So he takes him to his room, and he puts him in this room, closes the door. And in this room, there's a table and there's a printer, and there's a window, looks out over the gardens. And so the guy's in the room and he's thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? So he goes to the door, and the door is locked. He can't get out. He's been locked in the room, and he's not impressed with being locked in this room. So he's wondering what the heck's going on. So he looks out the window and he can see there's a gardener working in the garden, and he's trying to bang on the window to get the gardener's attention, but the gardener can't hear him. And maybe the gardener has headphones on. I don't know. He just doesn't hear him. And then seconds later, the printer starts to print, and it starts to print a single page of paper. And out of the printer comes this document that says, you are going to die in 59 minutes. And he's like, what the heck is that? And so he's like thinking, what in the world's going on? So now he's looking around. He's like, is there a phone in here or something? And And then he's looking over at the window again. He's looking out, the gardener, he can't see the gardener anymore. And it's like, I don't understand. A minute later, a page starts printing in the printer again. It says, you're going to die in 58 minutes. And he's like, what is this, some kind of a joke or something? I don't understand what's going on. Well, this goes on, obviously, every minute up until the 1 minute mark. He's frantic, like losing his mind. He's yelling, he's banging, he's trying everything. He's trying to remove the hinges from the door to get out. He's banging on the window. He cannot get out of this room. And then finally, after 59 minutes had passed, the door opens. It just opens. And he goes out, he finds the guy, finds the guru, and he is storming mad, like raging mad. And he says, what the hell are you doing? You think this is some kind of a joke? You know, you're telling me I'm going to die, and like, what the heck? And he's like all, you know, upset. And the guru says, I don't understand. And he says, well, you know, these pages we're printing out of this printer every minute telling me I'm going to die after so many minutes. And he says, so? He says, what do you mean, so? He said, are you dead? He said, no. Did you believe it? And he's like, I get it. He understood. He got all consumed in a matter of a few words that were on a sheet of paper. Was it true? No. Did he believe it to be true? Obviously. Did he get all emotional about it? Yes. Did he get really riled up? Absolutely. Did he need to? No. He could have let those pages print in that document, thought, wonder what that's all about. Remember that slide I shared earlier with the two sides of you, right? Perception. Think about that. How are you going to look at the situation? When you're in a healthy mind, when you have a healthy consciousness and things happen, you're going to look at them very differently. You're going to look at them in a positive light and not get all caught up. But how many people do you know? And I'm sure you know somebody who one little thing happens. The government sends them an invoice for some unexpected taxes, and then they go, right? They go off, right? All bent out of shape. Or see, I can never get ahead, right? They get so emotional. You got to pay attention to those emotional outbreaks and when they occur. Wayne Dyer used to say this. He said, if you squeeze an orange and orange juice comes out, it's because it was in there. Think about that. You get squeezed, anger comes out, it's because it was in there. You get squeezed and fear comes out, it's because it's in there. Non-judgmental, we're not going to judge it. We're simply going to be aware. It's in there. Notice what you're feeling. Master your emotions. Do not allow something outside of you to impact how you feel in a negative way. You're in control of how you feel, always in all ways. Okay, let's go back to our questions. Okay. Aisling says, I was made redundant 6 years ago and have only been able to get contract roles, many in toxic environments. Was so delighted in May to get a new permanent role. Unfortunately, it is a toxic, long environment, long hours, 8 to 8 minimum, and 1 a.m. at month end, and trying to get a new job. I say my gratitude. I'm so happy and grateful for my great permanent role I love that has great life balance, lovely colleagues, and financial abundance. I suppose I don't know how to get rid of the niggling feeling of fear of another toxic role and the guilt of not spending the time with my beautiful daughter. I'm a solo mom, and so I am all she has. All right, beautiful. I love that you're such a wonderful, loving mom. That was me. Everything was for my son. I was so important to me to, be that one for my mom. Okay. So in this example, and I love that you asked the question. I really love that you're asking this question. In this example, what you said was, I don't know how to get rid of the niggling feeling of fear of another toxic role. Okay, that niggling feeling of fear of another toxic role will keep you in a toxic role. Okay, you absolutely must get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? By replacing it. You replace it with only the thoughts that you love. Let it go, let that go. You know, it's an experience, it's in the past, does not have to define you, does not have to be the way that you are now going forward. Just make a decision that you're not going to be in that environment anymore. So now that you're in a wonderful, loving, enjoyable, harmonious, incredible environment where you're doing work that you love with people that you love, what does that feel like? That must be your dominant emotion. Must be your dominant emotion. You've got to feel like that every single day. Absolutely every single day. Like I remember, you know, being in the corporate world. This is why I love being an entrepreneur so much, is that, you know, I felt, you know, in some ways it felt like a prison of sorts, you know, going to work, doing work that I didn't love, etc. And I find that working for yourself is so freeing. And maybe that's something you want to consider. Maybe you're being led to do something on your own, you know, to be an entrepreneur, to do work that you would really love to do. That could be it. I started my business when I was a single mom. And yeah, you know, it was, there was a part of that was scary, but I recognized how destructive fear was. So I just chose to focus on what I'd love. And I remember starting my business and people saying, do you realize that X percentage of businesses fail within the first 7 years? It's like, that's fine. It won't be me. I'm not choosing that, right? If there's 57% of businesses that fail within a certain number of years, there's also another percent that succeed. So you can choose to be on that side. Like there's a scene in a movie with Jim Carrey where he's a lawyer in the movie and he likes this woman and he asks her, you know, is there a chance that, you know, we could, you know, ever become an item? And she said 1 in a billion. And he says, so there's a chance. I love that scene. So what you're telling me is there's a chance? Of course there's a chance. It's like when my father was diagnosed with cancer, 50-50. You know, a lot of people get all caught up in the 50 that they're going to die. And when we chose to get caught up in the 50, you're going to live. And that's the side that you want to get on. So in other words, how? Get into a power life script, create a power life script. Just go to work feeling like you are in an environment that is enriching, that's enjoyable, that's fulfilling. See yourself. When you're getting ready for work, feel that gratitude of, yay, I'm going to work doing what I love. And when you're there, even though other stuff might be going on around you, remember this. And, you know, as Roddy had suggested when we started this event, take notes, right? And here's something that I want you to really know and understand. And I know I've said it already, but it could be one of those situations where you're listening and then not listening and listening and not listening. But here you go. You are in control of your emotions at all times, always, in all ways. You're in control. Now, if you're allowing things outside of you, environment, the situation, other people to influence you, you have just given your power away. That's what you've done. You've given your power away. Take it back. You're in control. You could be showing up for work and it could still be that toxic environment, but you're showing up for work and you're not getting in. Remember earlier I was talking about the plexiglass shield? It's not getting in. Don't let it in. Do not let it in. You're in control of how you feel. Nobody else's control. And if you need to saturate your mind, saturate your mind. Plug in. Like you can listen to your Power Life script multiple times. Who was it? Was it Maddie or Hannah that had said the other day that they had watched a video of mine where I suggested listening to your Power Life script 7 times a day rather than once a day. And she said it was a game changer, absolute game changer. Like I know listening to my Power Life script all night long has been a game changer for me. It's like you're fueling your body, you're fueling your mind. Actually, it's what you're doing. You're fueling your mind with good ideas, good stuff. You know, while you sleep, your subconscious mind's wide open. Listen to it while you're awake as well. It's important to do it while you're awake. But just know this, it's your dominant emotions that's attracting to you, as I shared earlier with the magnets, your dominant emotions that's attracting to you back the experiences that you have in your life. So your dominant emotions should be the positive emotions. Okay, we have another question here from Ellie. Is it okay when new expenses appear to think, okay, according to to get you got to give, meaning while my expenses are getting big, my income will get big? Is it an abundance thinking? Please advise. Thank you very much. An abundance to all of us. All right. Yeah. And even with that, if you find that, and I know that, there's a lot of people talking about what's going on in the world. Gas prices are higher. Grocery prices are higher. Netflix increased their price. I mean, lots of people talking about how everything is so much more expensive, and yet their income might not be. Well, you're in choice. You're at choice as far as your income. You can earn more money. And I wouldn't give if you're only doing it. And I'm not saying this is what she's saying, and she's probably not, but I wouldn't give because I'm only doing it to expect to receive. I'd give unconditionally. It's important to give. I believe it's important to give. And why it's important to give is because giving works with the law of, well, it works with many laws, but one of them is the laws of cause and effect. What you give, you get back. So you give out love, you're going to get love back. You give out abundance, you'll get abundance back. You give out joy, you'll get joy back. It's the way it works. Neil Donald Walsh used to say, be the source of whatever it is that you want. That's why being a destiny coach is so valuable. If you're the source of success for other people, you cannot help but experience success in your life because you're helping other people experience it in their life. And so you've got to be aware. Don't think your income is limited. It's as limited as you think it is. Your income is unlimited. Even if you are in a job right now, a job. I started my business while I was still working. And there's many ways to attract money into your life, not just, from exchanging $1 for an hour. That's how most people do it. But there's other ways. And if any of you have ever seen Bob Proctor do a presentation on money earning and potential, he often talked about the way the majority of the people on this planet are operating is, and he said it's the worst way, this is what Bob would say, is they're exchanging $1 for an hour. But the best way of earning money is through multiple sources of income, hence MSI entrepreneur. Like, I don't know how many sources of income I have. I honestly don't know. Never counted them. Lots of sources of income. And I'm always creating new ones, additional ones. And you can either have multiple sources of income. Now there's 3 ways. This is what Bob said. There's 3 ways of earning money. 1 is exchanging dollars for hour. 2 is have your money work for you. That's investments. And 3 is MSIs. And in Bob's opinion, MSIs was the best way to earn money, and also said that's the way the millionaires and billionaires on this planet do it, is through MSIs. So that's why I'm passionate about showing people and teaching people how to create MSIs for them in their own life. So is it a lack mentality or lack thinking? Yeah, if you're thinking that your income isn't getting big, but if you're seeing your expenses are getting big, do you want bigger expenses? It doesn't necessarily mean that your income's getting big too, although it might be. It might be. You just have to ask yourself this: what would I love? And create that scenario in your life. Okay. Cindy says, what about tragedy? People say law of attraction isn't real due to tragic events that they did not attract, like house burned down, killing their children. Yeah, that part I don't know. I don't go there. I don't understand that. I don't understand why those tragic events occur in the world. I do know we have, it can be sad, of course, and but I don't know. I remember one time I was watching a Larry King. It was a Larry King special, and he had on a speaker from The Secret, and Larry King asked the speaker this question. He says, do you believe that we attract everything into our life? And that might have been an example or a similar example of what he said. And I just thought, how would I answer that question? And here's how I would answer that question. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, it's just horrific, some of the things that go on, in the world. And I can't explain them all. I don't know why they all happen. They just do. And, but I do know that we do have control of how we feel. So I don't necessarily, I wouldn't jump on that bandwagon of saying we attract everything into our life, because, especially with those kinds of scenarios. Okay, Palash is saying, What are the limits of nature? Yes. So earlier I was saying you can accomplish anything within the realms of nature, the limits of nature. So that would be, if I decided that I wanted to win a gold medal in the 50-meter backstroke in the Olympics next year, that's probably not going to happen. The limit that I have is I'm not trained. Could I be trained? Doubtful. I don't believe, at 63 years of age, competing against 19-year-olds swimming in the Olympics who've been training for years and years and years. I would say maybe it's going to be done. I don't know, but those are the realms of nature. Another one would be, and this is a very, one that I use often is, some people think I want to fly. I want to fly like the birds, right? Or like a plane. Now, if I went up to the top of the Empire State Building and jumped off, I'm not going to fly. I'm going to smack against the ground. That's realms of nature. That's the gravity, right? So that's what I'm talking about there. Okay, Jess says, how do I go about manifesting or getting a sponsorship from a philanthropist or corporation while I work on a GoFundMe account to raise $26,500, culminating in accomplishing my mission in uniting humanity? Okay, so Jess's question is about how. You don't have to know how. I don't have to know how. Just see the end result, Jess. Be emotionally involved in the end result. Celebrate the end result in your mind, right? Be grateful for the end result. That's what I would suggest for you. The how is going to show up. Absolutely going to show up. Joanne says, I'm so healthy and grateful now, and now demand. If I demand, it sounds like it's not happening now. I'm demanding to be here, but it's not here already. Can you speak to this? What I know is that when I demand, it solidifies my commitment. There's no question that this is what I want. It feels great. There's no wishy-washy, I hope, feeling of saying please. But here it is here already, and I would never demand something that I already have. The monkey mind. Okay, great question, Joanne. And actually, Steve had asked that question, and I answered it yesterday in our MSI class, a very similar question. There's a process for manifesting. Demanding something is part of the process. Okay, so demand, as the dictionary defines, means an insistent and peremptory request made as if by right. It's your right to be rich. It's your right to have anything that you desire. It's your right to accomplish that goal. That's a demand. You demand it. It's like you've named it. You've named it. You've determined. You see, you've got to make an irrevocable decision. You're going to accomplish something before. It's a step in the process. I made an irrevocable decision that I am healthy. I'm going to be healthy. Now, does that mean I was healthy at the moment? No. Made an irrevocable decision that this is what I'm choosing. Then the step in the process is to feel as if it's already done. Okay, I feel healthy. I'm feeling healthy. Every cell of my body is vibrating in perfect health. Like I feel wonderful. I feel energetic while I'm laying in a hospital bed, right? Hooked up to stuff with a stomach tube in my stomach, right? Vomiting every time they sent me down for some radiation. Now that, as a physical example, at that moment, I was not experiencing what I desired, but I was feeling it, and I was strengthening that within myself until the actual event occurred, which you're looking at. All right. This was actually not even that long ago that I went through that experience. And so the demand is part of the process. Okay. It's part of the process, but it's not the way to manifest. The way to manifest is to feel it. You feel it as if it's here now. That's mastery. All right, we have two more questions. No, one more question. Perfect timing. We got 3 minutes to the top of the hour. This one's from Gina. I've been walking my best dreams over and over for 30 years with miraculous manifestations and miracles over and over. 3 decades of personal development. Suddenly, these past few years, it's all changed. Finances completely reversed, fear of lack of confidence overcoming my past positive feelings. How does one go from a very fulfilling life of miracles and contribution to feeling so unlike me? All right, Gina, thank you for asking the question. You know, this is a fabulous question, and it can happen. And if we think back to what I said earlier on this call, it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. You could be manifesting, and we've seen it. We've seen it with people that have, I remember Bob and I having this conversation about this very same thing together. We've seen people that have created extraordinary lives and then bam, lost it all. But we've also seen people, and Walt Disney was an example of this, who had gone, created an empire, went bankrupt, created an empire, went bankrupt, created an empire, went bankrupt. I remember Mark Victor Hansen used to talk about that from stage. And I remember Bob and I looking at each other saying, I'm not going to do that. And we kind of laughed, we laughed together because many people have done that. They go whoop and they go down and they go up and they go down and they go up and they go down. And why? Now, that's not what Gina said. She experienced, she had everything going for her and everything was going wonderful. And then all of a sudden, boom, it can happen. Why? Because it could be an event. Like I could have easily gone right into the toilet last year. I could have easily gone in the other direction, very easily. And people do that. We see it. We see it with athletes that at one point were living their incredible life, an extraordinary life. And all of a sudden, boom, they find themselves desperate, desolate, out of money, broke. Why? Doesn't have to be that way. Could they build it again? Absolutely, they could build it again. It's a choice. We are beings that have choice, always, in all ways. We're at choice. And so, Gina, if you want your life to be extraordinary again, or even better than it was before, you've got to invest in giving it all your energy. Your dominant emotions must be the emotions that you're feeling. The positive emotions must be emotions that are only in alignment with what you desire. You've got to condition yourself to be that way. And you do that by getting in the study and staying in the study. Dr. Richard, can I please receive guidance for this? Okay. Oh, there's one more question. Roddy, we're going to deal with another question here if you're okay with that. Go a little bit over time. Okay, thank you. All right, I've recently entered a relationship that was kind of toxic and self-image might have been hampered. How can I work on myself to attract my soulmate? That's such a beautiful question. When my marriage went south into Charles, and I realized that, I took responsibility for my role in that relationship, not, manifesting the way that I desired. And I realized that, what do I need to believe in order to have the kind of relationship that I'd love? I need to believe I'm worthy of love. And that was a big one. It was a big one for me. And so I just chose to reinforce that belief. I chose to see myself in a happy, healthy, loving relationship. And it was a repetitive process. It became part of my Power Life script. It's something that I worked on every single day. And then I met and attracted Denny into my life, which I'm so grateful for to this day. So if the desire is there, it's part of it. It's like in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he says in the beginning of that book, you're going to discover a secret in here that once you discover it, it can change your life in such powerful ways. And he doesn't tell you what it is, but I believe it's the burning desire. Like if you have a burning desire to change your life, then you can do it, but you've got to change the way of being. You've got to change the way of thinking. You got to change the way of feeling. If you decide that you would like to be experiencing something different, and it's definitely going to take some effort. It's going to take some work as well. All right, thank you. All right, Vladdy, I'm going to bring you back into the spotlight. I'm going to bring Roddy back into the spotlight as well, so we can wrap up. If you would both like to unmute your line. Vladdy had typed in the chat box, never, never, never give up. Keep going. You deserve to live the life you would love and desire to have. Are you creating it by default, subconsciously, paradigms, beliefs that are running you? Or would you love to do it by design consciously? Choose to create it by design. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant advice, Vladdy. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and that's what you've done, right?
Yeah, that's why I said that, because it's like, it's the whole thing. What you're teaching consciously, it's by design. And if we just let it happen and wish it's going to happen, and it's the don't live in a victimhood, like even scientists are saying you can be in this victimhood mode where you're waiting for something to happen to change your life, or somebody's going to come and rescue me, or you are a creator of your destiny. We all co-create, but we decide what we create. And that's why if you desire something, you're the one who takes it back. And me and Roddy actually talked about last time, Peggy, around the take a responsibility for your thinking, for your emotions, for your growth, and for every result you get. That was my awakening. every result I got, because I also had the diagnosis and I changed it around it. But it's when you realize I don't like the results I have right now. I don't have the love and the relationships and job and money and freedom. You can change it. Like nobody's going to come with this flick, what do you call it? The wands, sorry, not
Yeah.
flicks, wands, and just,
I have a
and
one.
I know you do.
Here, I'm
I
gonna
love you.
bless everyone with everything that they desire right now.
But you know, like I love, Peggy, one thing, and that is what I'm gonna say for today is you are living in an abundant world. And I love the quote, from abundance is scooped abundance, and their abundance remains. It's like you imagine that abundance is raining on you all the time. And
Yes.
our belief system, our paradigms, and our you know, circumstances or conditions are actually what we do. And I did it at the beginning. You open your umbrella and you're literally shielding yourself from the abundance with your belief system. But you can choose to actually just dance in the rain or sing in the rain or just accept the abundance, because it is actually part of the choice to allow it to come to you. Don't shield yourself from it. You
That's so
deserve it.
good.
And that's why I love the teachings. You have to actually program yourself for it to
Right.
work.
Yeah, you know, and what you remind me of, Vladdy, is the risk part of it, right? Like some people are afraid to take the step to make the risk. And we're going to bring it Rika. Rika, I see your hand is raised there. I'm going to get to you. Okay. I'm not going to leave you. We're going to bring you in a minute. But I think as Vladdy was sharing that, I was thinking about risks, you know, when I decided to start my company, and it was a risk, you know, and I wasn't looking for support outside of me because I knew that I'm in control of how I'm feeling. But I think about Roddy, like Roddy, you were in a full-time career with on a trajectory to receive this wonderful thing that many people get when they work for the government called a pension, and a secure, what also would be known as a secure job. And you let that go, even though you had your parents, you know, who you love and appreciate, asking you, have you lost your mind? They didn't say those words, but, you know, are you sure you know what you're doing here? And you gave it up to come and work with Dynamic Destinies. And that, you know, did you feel fear? Did you feel it was a risk? How were you feeling at that time? And how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, totally. It brought sort of one thing that came into my mind when you were saying that, Peggy. Looking back in retrospect, now it's playing it safe is like a dangerous game. I know Bob said that. I think you've said that a lot of times as well. So you're right. I could quite easily have just carried on doing what I was doing. I would have got to my mid-60s, would have retired, probably got an okay pension fund, but it just wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't something that was satisfying. It was like Groundhog Day every single day. There was no sense of enjoyment, fulfillment, or any kind of desire within me making that journey each morning. So there comes a point in time, you know, you just really got to make a decision and really go for it rather than just playing the safe game, which is very easy to do because ultimately that's kind of what we're all programmed to do, isn't it? From school age up, get a safe, secure job, and then, you know, just be grateful for that. But yeah, totally. So I'm so grateful now that I made that decision, even though at that point in time it was quite scary. It was something which my mum and dad and folks that I was around with, you know, they could only operate from the paradigms that they knew, which was 9 to 5 roles, safe, stick with that. That's what I've known all my life. That's the easier, you know, safe option. So you know, now I'm so grateful that I manifested you into my life, and it did come from a completely unknown source. I know people said that there about, you know, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Don't be so be open to the how, but don't be so laser focused on how it's going to come around. I think that's another big part. Your greatest lesson that you've said many a time, Peggy, is, you know, you do not have to know how. Just be totally on that vibration, on that frequency of the good that you desire and get out of that lack mentality as well. Vladdy summed it up so well there. It's so easily to stay in that lack mentality. And you see it all the time. I still do it. Vladdy, you said that about your family as well. It's so easy to get into it and not even be aware that you're in that lack mentality. We can see that with the questions that have come in there. Again, no disrespect. It's great that these questions come in, but you can see it right away. It's easy for me to see it from the outside, but just be aware, especially the self-talk, the language, everything that's going into your whole thoughts, feelings, actions, which is an attitude, as Errol Nightingale defined. So just be aware of that as you're going around your day.
Oh, so true. Thank you, Roddy. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing. And, I attracted Roddy into my life. I attracted Vladdy into my life and vice versa for Vladdy. And so blessed. I mean, they're both, as you can tell, from the spirit of being of service. And speaking of that, Rika Rich, is that your real name, Rika Rich? Yes. All right. Can you unmute your line, please?
Okay. I am not a Zoom aficionado. I have had many challenges on here.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I first want to say this, Peggy. It is so exciting. And it is a privilege to be able to actually talk to you. Okay.
Aw, thank you. You're so kind.
I met you on Proctor Gallagher 24/7, and I love watching you and Brian talk. And I love your stories about your first book and how you manifested your house that you tried to win in that contest.
Yes.
And so and when you really talk more and more about your books, I was like, I've got to find a way to get to this lady. And so I found your website a couple of months ago, and I wanted to take the class that you had posted on there about how to market your book and whether you should publish it or self-publish it, get a publisher or what. But at the time I didn't have the money. And so when I got the money, I went back 2 weeks ago and I couldn't find it anymore.
Okay.
So that's my first question. Can I still take that class? And then I have another question that you generated by me listening to you today.
Excellent. All right, great. That class was part of a program called the Complete Author Program. And we sort of changed our offerings. And I'll tell you why. We changed it to be multiple sources of income for authors. And the reason why we did that is because I discovered many authors leave money on the table. In other words, there's such a great opportunity for them to serve people in greater and grander ways that they could be, creating their own business around. And, not every author wants to do that. Like some people just want to write their book and get it out there in the world and pray that it goes to the top of the charts and or maybe they'll follow the process that I teach and make it a bestseller. But at the end of the day, what I started to notice from doing this for so many years is that a lot of authors were not really serving themselves by not generating the income to really, provide them the freedom to do what they want, when they want, with whoever they want. But more importantly, to, find additional ways of serving people. Are you writing fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Okay. So this is, it's absolutely ideal for any author, what we teach in our MSI author program now. But even with fiction, like Savvy Wisdom, which I wrote and is a fiction book based on, Sophie experiencing this gentleman named Savvy. There's a program that we created called Savvy's Proven Success Principles, which is based on the teachings from that book. And so what I would suggest, Rika, is meet with Vladdy. She'll meet with you. She can talk to you about what we can do for you and how we can help you with what you want to accomplish. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you in business for yourself right now?
Yes, I've been in business for myself for like 35 years. I started at when I was like 21, I think I was, with selling insurance. And so I also have another business called Hardhead Diabetic that teaches people better ways to eat to deal with diabetes. And so my passion, since I was 15, I wanted to write. But that didn't give me the money that insurance did. So I put that to the side. And now I was listening to Bob. I discovered Bob like by accident. And he's been like my God ever since. And
Yeah.
I was so sad he passed. But he said, you know, do what you desire. And I said, you know what? I did write one book for my company, Hard Head Diabetic, but not like I want to have, like you got books on the bestseller list. I want that. So,
Yeah, well, there's great opportunities as an author to have it be your main source of income or multiple sources of income. And then this is really why we switched gears, is that I wanted to help people understand more the entrepreneurial opportunities that are out there. And I've been marketing online. Like I put my website up in 1995. So I've been online a long time. Okay. And this is really when I started marketing my books online, I was a single mom with a young son, and I had no desire to not be around to be in his life or be traveling and doing book tours or, you know, speaking engagements. I just wanted to be the best mom I could be and a successful entrepreneur. And so I made a decision, well, I'm going to do both. I'm going to be a great mom and I'm going to be a wonderful entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. So I just started marketing online. And, you know, when I started marketing online, I just assumed everybody must be doing this because, you know, here I am in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I can reach people anywhere in the world. I don't even have to get off my chair, right? Like we're doing today. I don't know how many countries we had here today. Anybody can be doing this. Anybody who can fog a mirror. I mean, that really is the prerequisite. Can you fog a mirror and you have a desire? Then bonus, you know, you could be doing what we're doing. And it really created an opportunity where we want people to think bigger, like the sign says behind my head, like dream big, right? Like choose a bigger life, bigger opportunity, because what you have, you know, from your 35 years of being in insurance, there's, you know, a tremendous amount of wealth of knowledge and experience that you have there. The diabetic, you know, more and more people are being diagnosed with diabetes. I'm assuming this is like type 1 or type 2, either one.
Yeah, both of them, but I focus more on 2 because type 1 takes, you can't really control that with food. You got to have insulin being pumped in your body.
Got it. Or even, you know, if people understand that, like we have close friends that they've just been diagnosed with diabetes as well. And it's, you know, changing the way they eat and changing the things that they drink and things like that. But it's something that when you think about what people are attracted to online, there's a variety of different topics, right? But the internet is now, we've got how many billion people? 4 billion? Is it 4, 5? How many people online, Roddy? I know I teach it in the class, but
it's nearly 4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lot. It's a lot of people. And it's $1 trillion industry, $1 trillion industry. Now, what is one of the most popular things that are selling online? Information. What do you have? Information. And so, and not only you, I mean, everybody, we got 118 people on right now. Everyone has something to offer the world. But, you know, you said something earlier that sort of triggered a thought within my mind. You had said that you've been passionate about writing since you were 15, which is beautiful. I love that you have the passion. But you said that the writing wasn't going to produce the income that the insurance was. And I can understand that. But what if it could? What if it could surpass it by like a miles? Like what if it could be exponential, blow your mind kind of thing?
The guy that was considered my upline, he's kind of like my second best friend, right? But so he was the guy I answered to in selling insurance. And I tried probably 4 or 5 different times over the span of the 30 years to set insurance to the side. Okay, look, I'm going to write. And he would always come back to me. What your hands have found to do with all your might. You got the money right here with insurance, Rika. Just keep writing it. And I'm like, so I just would listen to him. Now I'm older, I'm wiser, and I'm like, no, I'm doing my passion.
Yeah, baby. And you know, the thing is, you don't have to know how. And I said that before. I said it was the greatest lesson I learned from Bob. So what you must do, and I say must, is decide how would you love your life to be? and like really script it. That's what the Power Life script is. How would you love your life to be? And as you're creating that experience, like that description, you don't have to know how. Now, what I see a lot of people do, and this is something when we're in our Skipping Levels program, is I'll say to my Skipping Levels members, send me your Power Life script. I want to review it for you. I don't do it for, as a service. We don't do it for everyone, but I'll tell my members in Skipping Levels, send it to me. I want to review it for you. Inevitably, I will see where they'll say something like this. And I'm so happy and grateful that I'm easily earning, let's say $1 million a year in income, while I've sold 50,000 copies of my book, 10,000 copies of my program, and I have this many coaching clients. Listen, you're trying to tell the universe how it's going to happen. You can't tell the universe how it's going to happen. You have to allow it to happen. Now, like the Power Life script is about the outcome. How are you living your life? Let the universe show you the way, right? Like Roddy and I got an email about 2 weeks ago from a gentleman from Australia, from Melbourne, Australia. His name is Grant. So this email lands in our inbox and we both see it. And it's an email saying, I'm a developer. I'm a web developer. I get these every day. And there's probably 5 of them sitting in my inbox since we've been on this call. And typically it's just delete, 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 as I'm going through my emails. And this one came in and this gentleman, Grant, said, I saw you on a Bob Proctor class, probably the one with Brian. You were talking about the Power Life script process. I love it, got into it, and he really believes in it. He says, I'm an app developer. I would like to develop an app for you. And it's like, wow, and I had just been thinking about creating an app. And then bam, an email lands in my inbox. And this was Bob used to say, if you have to attract someone from China, you'll attract someone from China. I mean, whatever is necessary for the fulfillment of your desire, you will attract. So I mean, no mistake that, you're here, that your hand was raised, that you're in here with us. No mistake. You're being led to something greater for you. Now, I would suggest book an appointment with Vladdy, and Vladdy will give you the link to do that, or Roddy will give you the link, and book to talk with her, because she can talk to you about how we can help you doing what you want to do with your passion. And the other thing is, it doesn't have to be restricted to only one thing. I mean, think about Michelle and Jay and all the things that they're doing and they're involved in. And the same thing with Connie and Ellen. I mean, they're doing multiple things. And so you've got a desire, you've got an experience, you've got experience, like a wealth of experience. It's like you said, I'm older and I'm wise. You know what? That's valuable. It's valuable to someone else. Why? Because you can shave off years of their life. They don't have to learn it and go through the trials and tribulations or go through the challenges, because you've already been there and done that. And so you can bring this great value to the world from your experience and help people. And as a result, you'll be rewarded. You'll be rewarded. Like I think about what I do, and especially we do an event like this, and I'm thinking everybody should be here. We're doing it for free. This event was free, cost people nothing but their time. And I've been studying this like a scientist, as Bob used to say, for 43 and a half years, almost 44 years. And it's not just a study. I mean, implemented. I've gone from being poor, broke, in debt, to being a millionaire, happily married, living in this amazing life. Like I've been there, done that, not bragging at all. I'm just saying that I can help people. I can help people create their business. And here I'm a 63-year-old grandma, right? So if a 63-year-old grandma can do it, I think anybody can do it. And we were talking about that one time. Maybe I should be marketing myself as the grandma, as the grandma guru or something. I don't know. I don't know whether people would give it respect, but doesn't matter. I'm not really concerned about that. But the point is, you're here for a reason. You've been led to this point. You've got a passion for something. It's time. And you just have to decide, yes, and that's what Bob used to say. Just make the decision. The money you'll figure that out. Like once you make a decision to do something, you'll figure it out.
Right. Well, I would like to say this, how you actually helped me inadvertently just listening to you, because I had to move back. This where I am is my grandmother's house, but she left it to me. Yeah, but I had to move back here to take care of my uncle because he had a stroke in like 2013. And where I am, I'm in DC, but I'm a Maryland girl. I want to go back to Maryland. I don't like living here. Okay, I'm dealing with it. And so I was like, I've been saying every year, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna get me a house. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna get me a house.
Yeah.
And then when I heard you with the house and how you got in that contest, and then you didn't win the contest, but you ultimately could buy the house from the lady,
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, okay, Rika, you looking at this all wrong. And I said,
Yeah.
this is it. I am getting my house by my birthday next year. That's it.
Yeah.
It's done. It's over. And in the middle, I had like earlier last year when I was working, I had a bit of money saved up, but my father had a stroke in December. And so I've had to take care of him to the point that I couldn't work for the last 8 months. And so people was always calling me for money to help them. And I had given away almost all my money, and everybody that was supposed to pay me back didn't. So I was at the point where I needed some money, and I didn't have anybody right before when I went to look at your class, and I was like, God darn, I had $3,600, okay, but now I don't, right? And so anyway, through all of that, it was nobody to give me any money. So then I was like, okay, Rika, how we gonna do this? How we gonna do it? And Bob came into my head and was like, you just have to have the desire. You don't have to figure out how. And I kept going, okay, Rika, you getting in the way. Stop. Peggy got her house
That's right.
because she had the desire. And so I said, okay, Rika, stop trying to figure out how. Just know you're going to get it and just move, right?
Yeah.
And so literally, Peggy, $65,000 fell into my lap, like over the last couple of weeks. And so I'm just going to take, like, not me working, not me earning, it fell into my lap. Okay. And so
You attracted that.
right now, I'm going to take that money and completely gut this house and remodel it. And so I was telling the people, I was like, well, you know what? If I can fix this house the way I want, I might not want to buy another house later.
That's right.
But I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to live here for a year, maybe a year and a half, because I want to enjoy the new stuff. And then I'm going to get my big giant house, about a year and a half. But I said, oh my God, I know it works, but like every time you actually see it work, that's something else all different, right? So
I love it.
I know, exactly. So my other question is this: in 2007, I lost my eyesight. I'm legally blind. And in February of this year, I had a stroke, and it challenges my memory, not my physical body, but my memory. And so when I first lost my eyesight, you know how you might stand in front of trying to order some food and the menu is up there. I couldn't see any of that, right? And
Okay.
I hate it because I'm kind of a smart person, okay? And I hated people. I'm standing there and the girl is like, what you want? And I'm standing, I hated people thinking I was illiterate and couldn't read, okay?
Right,
And so, but I
right.
couldn't see it, right? And so I just started from that experience for all of these years. I will be like, well, I'm legally blind. I can't see that. And I don't want to speak that. Then I started when I had my stroke, I would tell, because I couldn't get words out. And I'm like, I had a stroke in February. And, at first I was saying it's messed up my memory. Now I changed it to, I got challenges with my memory, but I don't want to keep, like you said earlier, holding on to that tragedy, but
Yes.
I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say so people don't think I'm illiterate.
Right. Well, you can speak things, but not have emotional attachment to them. So for example, when I talk about what I went through health-wise, I don't go there emotionally. Right.
Okay.
And the example, that story, that gentleman that went to the guru's house and was locked in the room and the printer started to print.
Mhm.
You see, the guru said to him, what are you upset about? Like, they're just
Right.
words. And so there's a difference between words and emotional attachment. And so
Okay.
you just do not bring the emotional attachment into it. Plus, one of the, bodies heal. Like we have the power to heal. We have the power to heal ourselves. And there's so many miraculous stories of people that have healed themselves. And a big part of it is through what they call brain and heart coherency, right?
Okay.
And that's a big part of the reason why I've been studying this extensively in the last little while. As a matter of fact, I ordered the Heart Map, the Empath Pro, which is arriving today. I think it arrived actually while we're on this call. And I bought that because it measures frequencies. It measures the frequency of your heart. And the idea behind it is really, if you think about when you're in alignment, meaning when you're feeling as if you're living the life that you desire and you're making that difference and you're really feeling that gratitude in your heart. As I shared with you in that chart, like there's a frequency that's being emitted from you. It's an emotional frequency. And depending on the emotion that we're feeling, it's going to be going out hazardous, you know, if it's a destructive emotion, or it's going to be going out harmonious if it's a coherent emotion. And HeartMath has this ability to measure these frequencies. But another way to get into this mind coherent space is to do it through a relaxed state. And when you're in a relaxed state, your brain waves go from a certain level down to another level, like an alpha level, where your subconscious opens up to receive. And by impressing these new ideas into your subconscious mind, that's the brain coherence, right? You create the belief systems within you that you already are the success, you know, that you desire to be. And so that's another energetic emittance of emotion or thought wave, a thought wave, which is another emittance of energy. And so when you get your mind and your heart coherent, in alignment with what you desire, you can heal yourself. You can heal yourself of anything and everything. And, you know, we hear so many stories. You know, I watched this video the other day on Gaia's website, and it was called The Way of Miracles. I have the book actually out in my family room because I've been studying it at night. And it was written by a PhD, Dr. Mark Mincola. And he talked about, that was really a big part of the work that he did, you know, with people, you know, with helping them heal themselves, and had miraculous healing stories. And he decided to do this video or this movie. It's like a documentary style movie. And there's many stories of people that, you know, were diagnosed with things that were so-called incurable. And there's countless stories of those online as well, of people that, you know, got into meditation. And in their meditative state, like Vladdy was saying earlier today, that her daughter, Elizabeth, they got back from Florida, and she's been listening to the skipping levels meditation. She loves it. And I'm thinking, what a brilliant thing for Vladdy to get her daughter to do. But that's a part of brain coherency and heart coherency, because in skipping levels, we suggest to our clients to imagine that you already have that which you desire. You're already doing it. You're already being it. It's already in your life. And so it's a guided process. And the idea behind it is to get into this relaxed state, because your brain waves are different, right? Your subconscious mind is wide open, or more open to receive. And so when you do that, then you can make the change within. And, you know, some doctors just find it like miraculous, or, you know, that they may, you know, not believe it or whatever. But the fact is, it's going on. Like it's going on all over the place, where people are being cured, and even stroke patients. You know, I was looking at something the other day. There's a doctor in Boca Raton, Florida, who is, I'm trying to remember his name. I'll find it if you want. But this guy is dealing with stroke patients. A little bit different though. He's doing something where I guess there's a lack of, I don't know what it is that goes to the brain. And that's why, you know, sometimes people have strokes, and he's injecting them with this, I don't even know what it is, but he's doing these injections that it goes into their spine at the base of or at the top of their spine, and goes into their brain. And then within minutes, they're speaking again, moving again. Whereas they, you know, may have been stroke patients and been, you know, not able to speak or to walk or talk, you know, for a long period of time.
Wow.
And yeah, absolutely amazing. You can probably find it by looking at Dr. Boca Raton, Florida, who's healing stroke patients. You probably find him that way. I'm not even
Okay.
sure how I ended up over on that guy's website. But, you know, I've been studying a lot about the health and the healing area, that field, because of my own experience, right, of what I went through, you know, and realizing that you know, I don't have any intention of going there again, because it was a very unpleasant experience. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on health, you know, as a priority. You know, was it before? Yeah, but maybe not to the degree that it should have been. I don't know. And it is, but it, you know, we can't change the time we got out of bed this morning.
Right.
Right. But you can totally heal yourself. Now you're wearing glasses right now. Is that so that you can see better? Like, do you have some sight now?
Yes, I can see. I had 10 surgeries, so I can see out of my left eye, but I
Okay.
need the glasses like to read these words on here. That's why I kept getting up on here and all this stuff when I was trying to type the messages and stuff. But I have to take them off. Like if I wanted to see your face good, I'd have to take them off. And
Okay, got it.
They blur when I'm trying to make out images.
Well, you can change that. You could absolutely change it. You just, you know, you just bring your future result into the present and you feel it as well. That the dogs are barking because the heart math thing was just delivered. So kind of good timing.
Okay. I have one last question.
Sure.
Roddy and Vladimir, they sent me the link to book the appointment, but when I get off of Zoom, can I
It'll
get
be gone.
to it? It'll be, so I do it while we on here.
Yeah, let me get your email address and we can have Vladdy email you. Can you either tell us what your email address is and then Vladdy can email you directly?
If it's easier to, Rika, you can go to peggymccall.com and / book a call. Hopefully that's easier.
Oh, okay.
peggymccall.com / book a call, like all squeezed together,
Gotcha.
one word.
Okay, great. All right, I will do that when we get off. Thank you so.
Excellent.
It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
You
I'll be talking to
too.
you on the screen, but you be on there with Brian. It was such a pleasure and a thrill. Thank you so much.
You're adorable. We love you. We're so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, love her energy. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh yeah, totally great energy. Okay, Queen V has her hand raised. And now I'm saying she, I'm assuming. Queen V, did you want to come into the spotlight? Did you have a question for us? Would you like to unmute your line?
I did. I have two things going.
Oh dear, ow. Okay, try it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yes. We can hear you.
Okay. Peggy, I would like to thank you for.
You know what? Can't hear you now.
You say you can't?
Well, there's some loud pitched noise that's coming through. I'm not sure why that's happening. I muted your line again just because it's hurting the ears. And let's try it again, okay? Let's unmute your line again. Let's see if maybe it'll work better now. No? Okay, Queen V, would you be willing to maybe type in the chat box what your question is? We'll stay on here a little bit longer. I know we're going a little over time here. If you don't mind. Vincent has his hand raised as well. Vincent, there we go. Vincent, your line
Hey
is
everyone.
There we
good
go.
afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in your part of the world. It's been an amazing call, Peggy. I've been on since the beginning. I love listening
Nice.
to your information, inspiration, experience. I'm planning to come over in October to the
Yay.
event with you and Phil. I've just got to sort out logistics for vaccines because I still think in Canada it's maybe someone can let me know. I'll check online.
Yeah.
But
I
I've
know.
got to sort that out. I don't know what
They
the
need
rules
to,
are.
I think we should all give energy to Canada, lightening up on their
Yeah.
on their restrictions.
Some faith. I mean, I was told I couldn't go to Europe earlier this year for a big convention. I just told everyone in my team, I'm there. I said, I don't care how I'm swimming, whatever it is, I'm coming by parachute. And they lightened up the regulations about a week before I went. So I'm
Perfect.
going to be
Well,
there.
do the same
I'll
for
find a
Canada,
way.
please.
I'll find a way. I'll be there. But you know, I'm on your course, Peggy, the author course, and I haven't been engaged for a while. You know, I'm in direct marketing, and it takes a lot of energy and focus. But I believe when I come to the event in Canada, it will really move that forward. And but I wanted to ask a question.
Sure.
I have quite a few big goals, things that I believe God has called me to do with my life, and they're really big things. And you know, I know on my own strength that there's no way. So it has to be something. Whatever people believe on the call, the divine, the universe, I
Right.
believe it's Him. And but you know, I know that success is uphill. There's no such thing as downhill success. You're going to go through levels, through challenges. And you were talking about Walt Disney earlier, and I always think about things like that. People like, I know it's maybe not a particularly good example to talk about Kentucky because they're not exactly promoting health. I mean KFC, but all these people that had moments where they were at their rock bottom in many areas, whether it's relationships, health. You were talking about health, finances, business. When we're going through those challenges, and I had quite a lot of success in the past. 2 years ago, I hit a significant level in direct marketing, and it was quite unusual because I've never done it before. And then there's been a lot of challenges over the past 2 years. I mean, it seems to be when there's when they come, they don't come on their own. They come in numbers. And I still have faith. I believe, I get up every day, I pray, I have my vision boards. I mean, they're everywhere, behind me, wherever you go in the house. Mm-hmm. And I still believe and have faith. But is anything you can speak to? And I almost know what the answer's going to be, Peggy. Well, what do we do when these challenges are so immense, they're testing our faith? Is it just a matter of keep going, keep speaking what I believe is the truth, keep your, whenever I'm having a negative thought? I remember once on a call, Peggy, you said something amazing. You said it doesn't have to be something massive. It can be a color that shifts your mood. It can be music. It can be looking out of my window at the trees. So can you speak to that? Because I think a lot of people in the call must have big dreams, big goals, or they wouldn't be here for so long.
Right,
so
exactly.
What can you say about that when there's loads of challenges that what you can see, I know it's the results, what you can see, but there's so many of them, so many challenges that sometimes it just feels like, you know what, this is tough.
Okay,
what can you say to that?
Good question. A really good question, Vincent. Thank you so much for asking, by the way. And I really appreciate you being here. And I love your commitment and all the things that you have around your home as well. Very much like that. First thing is, I don't believe that success is all uphill. So I don't believe that. And if you think that that's serving you, it's not. So change that belief, throw that right out in the garbage, because I think that's where that belongs. And nothing, like I know COVID has been a very interesting time for many people. And there's a lot of people that were impacted by it in what might be construed as a negative way. And that, of course, depends on how they're looking at it. It can also be perception. But yet, when we look at certain industries and organizations and how COVID affected them, like retail organizations, as an example, or restaurants and things like that, restaurants that are closing up or stores that are closing that have been open for decades and decades, et cetera, or people having to sell things, et cetera. The truth is that in every experience, whether it's something that's affecting the world or the global population, there's blessings in it. There are also opportunities in that too. And COVID was no different. I had a client who was in the business of being in front of people. And so when COVID hit, bam, I mean, that just totally shut down everything. That every engagement that they had been canceled. All their travel was canceled. And I said, go online. Like, it's still, and they're like, I'm not a fan of online. I said, well, do you love what you do? And it's just a change, just an opportunity to change the way you're looking at it. Right. And so they did, and they ended up earning more than they had previously. And so I worked with Bob had actually asked me to help his hairstylist, who's a lovely woman who is running a salon. And of course, COVID came along and she had to shut down. In our province of Ontario, we actually had, on salons, nail salons, hair salons had to be shut down. And then this woman who owned the salon had several employees who had families and they needed to be paid, and she felt a responsibility. And so she was panicking. And so Bob knew of the work that I do in internet marketing. And he said, can you help her? And I said, sure. I started working with this woman and helping her and creating a new version of her business. And that was more of an online version. But the truth is this: outside influences, things that are going on outside the world. You said the word, they test our faith. Nothing tests us. I don't believe that. I don't believe we're tested. They give us an opportunity perhaps to increase our faith, for sure. But outside conditions do not have to dictate how we're feeling at any time. Although it happens, for a lot of people, they get emotionally involved in things that they have no control over, like a pandemic or like the government or like, weather. We have no control over that. Those are the things we have no control over. So I suggest, and I love that you asked, so how do you deal with it? There's one, I think it was Huxley who said, there's only one corner of the universe that we have any control over, and that is ourselves. That's the control that we have. We have control over what we're thinking, and we have control over what we're feeling. And I think about what Vladdy shared earlier. She had also experienced a health challenge a few years back. And this is something that I suggest to people: is anytime you're going through any kind of emotional upset where you're feeling tested, perhaps, if that's what you want to call it, or you're feeling challenged, perhaps, maybe your health is affected as well, saturate your mind. It's like if I went into the hospital today and my body was poisoned, what would they do? They would do a transfusion, or they would do whatever they could to clean my blood, to get rid of the bad, like out with the bad, in with the good, right? Out with the bad, in with the good. And that's what I believe we need to do with our consciousness: out with the bad, in with the good. But in our particular case, as a human being, because it's made an impression in our subconscious, it's not going out. It's there, and it's always going to be there. So that's why saturation can work really, really well. And that's why I think it was Henna who had said, and Roddy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was either Henna or Maddie had said that it was a game changer for them to listen to their Power Life script 7 times a day rather than just once. And so to me, that's an experience of saturation. That's an experience of, going into a hospital or a clinic and getting your mind, or your body saturated with only healthy things that are going to heal you. Like, think about addicts that, check themselves into a rehabilitation clinic, right? They're cut off from the drug or the substance, if it's alcohol or whatever it happens to be. They're cut off from that so that they can focus entirely on healing themselves. And so that's the idea behind saturating your mind with only the thoughts and only the feelings that are going to serve you. That's what I would suggest. And I find that the more passionate we are and we can be about the things that we desire, the more committed we'll be as well. It's like when you get to that point of, okay, enough is enough. I no longer want to live my life this way. Or it's just a big burning desire that you say, it's my time. You know what? It's my time. It's time for me to do something about this, and I'm going to do something about it. So that's what I would suggest, is really saturate your mind, as you did here. You came here at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and you've been here for 3 hours and 47 minutes. We've gone almost an hour over. And Jay and Michelle just wrote, belief is everything. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is belief. It's like believe and your belief will create the fact. That was William James' quote. Believe and your belief will create the fact. But how does that belief get in there? How does the belief get in there that you're unstoppable? How does the belief get in there that you can do anything that you want? Through repetition. And that's the idea, through repetition. As Bob shared with that slide, where it went, you're listening. And that's why you got to listen all the time. Like listen. I would watch Bob present. I was at every one of his events. I was speaking at every one of his events the last several years that he was around. And I would hear him say things for the first time. And it's like, when did Bob, learn that? And maybe it was the first time, I don't know, but it amazed me, how that could happen after all those times. Or one of my favorite audios is a book that I have on my bookshelf by Dr. Joseph Murphy. It's called Master Key to Wealth. And I love this. I love the book. I love the audio. I've listened to that audio probably 1,000 times. And I remember one time, I don't know which time it was that I was listening to it, but I remember one time driving down the road and listening to it and thinking, when did he add that? You know, it was there all the time, but our awareness, you know, doesn't always take it in. So, you know, it's our awareness and really, like, it's like that expression, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's like, when you're ready for a thing, man, everything's going to come your way. You're going to attract the answers. You're going to attract the solution. You're going to attract the way. And I love your commitment, Vincent. I know you're very committed to success, and obviously you've achieved many great things. And it's just going to be a matter of saturating your mind with the knowing it's already done, and just keep feeding your mind that way, and it's going to happen for you. All right. There. All right. Thank you so much.
I love that, Peggy. I just want to say I love that, because it just reminds me that's what I was doing before. And when you were talking about saturation, I was thinking, well, what am I saturating my mind with?
Right.
My thoughts, which might not be the right thoughts right now. So I love that. I think it's just more of just like, I like that expression, flooding your mind and washing out anything that might be getting in the way. And I just want to say hello to Vladdy. I haven't come up and seen you for a while in that lovely pub, but I'll come up soon.
Come again.
I love it. That's
Still
great.
here.
Thanks,
so
Vincent. We appreciate you.
I'll see you soon.
All right. That was great. I love it. I love answering these questions. Okay, Roddy, we're going to call it a wrap. This has been amazing. We're really grateful for all of you for being here with us. We appreciate it. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for showing up. Thank you for your wonderful questions. Thank you, Vladdy, for your amazing contribution, Roddy. And just know that the replay will be posted as well. Roddy will be getting that ready for you. It's a late evening for Roddy in Scotland, but here he is, you know, serving us, and we really appreciate you, Roddy. But thank you, everyone. We're so grateful to serve you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
And thank you, Peggy.
Yes.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And Roddy, of course.
Yes, of course. All right, everyone. Have a
Bye,
wonderful
guys.
weekend.